here compared to today. Elsewhere, most places just dry and cloudy, but there will be some holes in the cloud here and there. Thick cloud, though, for northern Scotland means a dull and damp and at times drizzly morning for the Highlands and the Western Isles. Let's go through the rest of the day. Not a great deal will change. I'm hopeful the rain and drizzle in the far south should scoot away, and also that skies will brighten over central and eastern England in particular. Decent chance of seeing some sunny spells coming through. Parts of southern and eastern Scotland may also brighten up, but for many it will just stay pretty drab. Where it does, 10 or 11 the top temperature, bit of brightness, could see those temperatures getting up into the teens, and again the wind's fairly light for most places. Friday we'll start to see a change, but again for most it'll be dry. Some light rain and drizzle over northern England, North Wales, turning wetter in the far northwest and windier here as well. This is an active weather front that's going to bring a change, getting gusty and turning soggy. Further south, generally dry and with some sunshine, 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, but it's going to turn colder for all of us through the weekend.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. A free speech breach?
Essex police are facing backlash after being accused of an appalling attack on free speech.
Well, Elon Musk, Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage all condemn the investigation into the journalist Alison Pearson.
Speaking to Nigel Farage last night, here's what she had to say.
It seemed to me a completely mad overreaction. Whatever it was that I posted a year ago on X, I'm not in the habit of writing anything horrible and inflammatory. If I wrote something that was unwise, I still don't think that's a proportionate response.
Biden welcomes Trump back to the White House in a surprisingly cordial meeting.
Politics is tough, and it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get.
Labour touts a 5% council tax rise. That's despite promising the amount households pay would not rise. In just an hour, the Shadow Secretary for Housing, Kevin Hollenrake, joins us after Kemi Badenoch lambasted Labour in the Commons.
I think the House would have heard that the Prime Minister could neither confirm nor deny whether there was a cap in council tax was being raised. So I will ask him this question. How much extra does he expect local authorities will have to raise to cover the social care funding gap created by the Chancellor's budget and increases in employers' NI?
King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday. Gun salutes will mark the occasion after what, of course, has been a challenging year for the royal family.
Failing hospitals are set to be named and shamed as part of the government's NHS overhaul. But all pitting hospitals against each other cause more issues than it solves. We'll be debating that right here this morning.
The John Lewis Christmas advert is about to be released and we'll show it to you later this hour.
Knowing you're not really into pink, but your mum knows it suits you, and that this will become the jumper. In 4 years' time, you'll be cross with yourself when you... Oh, dear. And when you dye your hair, it will go up here, because pink on pink is too much pink.
I'm tearing up just at the thought of it because I was going to wear a pink jumper today. And in the sport, Premier League referee David Coote's having a very bad week. He's now landed himself in even more trouble. England play Greece tonight. Harry Kane's not happy about players not turning up for it. And Gary Lineker won't be hosting Sports Personality of the Year this year.
It's another fine day for many of us, but it's not going to be quite as sunny as recent days. Increasingly cloudy and in some places damp. Full forecast coming up soon with me.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. I can't wait for the John Lewis advert.
I don't believe you.
No, I honestly, I
believe
love
you.
the John Lewis advert. Every year, it's the start of Christmas, I think, once the
You think
John
so?
Lewis advert comes. Yeah, and my favourite one ever was, do you remember the bear and the hare?
Oh, do you remember all these?
Well,
Do you
there's
really?
only one that sticks out to me, and it's the bear and the hare. Do you remember the bear and the hare?
I don't
They
know.
went-
I remember the fox jumping on the trampoline. Was that one?
Oh, that was one year, yes. That's a
Okay.
good one. That's a very good one. No, the bear and the hare. So it was done as a cartoon animation.
Yeah.
And they go searching for the perfect Christmas tree. And I don't know why, but it just made me cry.
I just think...
Did it really? That's what they try and do.
They leave me cold.
No.
They leave me absolutely cold.
Don't be a Scrooge.
It's the fact that an advert for a posh company is a story.
Yeah.
I think is
brilliant marketing. Though,
brilliant
Steve.
marketing.
It is brilliant
Christmas
marketing.
is not meant to be about spending all this money and...
But it's not. It's about finding the perfect Christmas tree and the journey together, the bear and the hare. And do you remember Lily Allen did the song, Somewhere in Reno?
Goodness.
It's a tearjerker.
Why do you want a tearjerker for an advert?
It's probably the biggest tearjerker Christmas advert since the Buttoneer advert back in the 70s. That was probably the only other one that got me upset.
So
but
you
apart
like
from that...
you like the fox on the trampoline?
This one is about finding the perfect present for your sister.
Aww.
We've all been there, says Frankie Goodwin, Chief Creative Officer. We've all been there. Time's running out and you're still looking for the perfect gift for someone in your life who's impossible to shop for.
Yes.
That's why I believe viewers will connect with our heroine as she dives into a rack of dresses, exploring her memories in search of that special gift.
Oh,
Get a grip.
I'm not sure if this one's going to do it for me then. It doesn't sound great.
There's a softness in you, though, Stephen.
There is, there is.
You get teary in things, though? Do films make teary?
I do get teary at times.
But is there something in you that's stopping you enjoying the advert because you know what it's all about?
Absolute cynicism.
That's what it is.
They're just trying to sell us stuff that we don't want.
Yeah.
And we're meant to get all emotional about it.
Well, they tap into the idea of family, don't they? And the perfect Christmas.
See, last year it was the Venus flytrap, wasn't it? That was a Christmas that ate presents and spat out.
Oh, yes.
And all that.
Yes, yes.
That one was great, wasn't it? Your one that you're talking about is 2016, and it started with Buster the Boxer. Do you remember the dog bouncing on the trampoline?
Yeah.
And then the family of foxes comes and bounces on the trampoline.
Give you family of foxes. Family of foxes.
Family of foxes.
Family of foxes. Yeah, I remember that because I like the animal thing. And see, look, I'm falling for it now.
See,
I'm falling for it.
I mean,
Even though
look,
it's
John
like...
Lewis, if you want to do an advert that includes the nativity, I'd be vaguely interested.
Oh.
Nativity? Lovely.
Yeah.
And they could even flog nativity sets off the back of it, 'cause
Yes.
it's all about flogging stuff.
That's actually true.
But let's have something vaguely
A nice
Christian in
animation,
this Christian country.
yeah, of Mary and Joseph would be quite nice. And the donkey.
We could sing Little Donkey as well while it's on there. That'd be nice, yeah.
If you're listening, maybe 2025, because I don't think you're going to get it this year.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think. The full advert's coming out in about 25 minutes' time. We will show it to you, won't we, on the programme?
When it comes.
Let us know what you think.
Yes, please. Right. Essex police have been accused of an appalling attack on free speech after launching an investigation into a Telegraph journalist.
Yes, officers are looking into Alison Pearson for allegedly stirring up racial hatred in a social media post last year.
Boris Johnson, Elon Musk and senior Tories are amongst those hitting out at the police force for refusing to give details on the matter.
Well, the British journalist was left in the dark about which post on X was being investigated, as well as who made the complaint against her.
Let's talk to the deputy editor of Spiked Online, Fraser Myers. Morning to you.
Good morning.
Look, it's worth pointing out that this happened more than a year ago now. It's just coming to light now, but it's 12 months old. However, it is the most ridiculous thing, isn't it? Unless it was, causing racial hatred or a terrorism threat or something, they should just leave alone, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah, the words Orwellian and Kafkaesque are often overused in discussions like this around free speech, but I'm afraid the investigation of Alison Pearson ticks both of those boxes. As you say, all we know is that the police are investigating her for a tweet that is over a year old, but they refuse to say what it is. So none of us can make a call as to whether it might have been racist or sexist or any of these other hateful things. I have to say, Alison Pearson is a mainstream journalist, so I sincerely doubt that it would tick any of those boxes. And it just goes to show how dangerous it is to allow the police to investigate so-called hate, because I think their definition of hate stretches way beyond what ordinary people might think of it as. We have no idea what Alison Pearson said, but I'm sure, perhaps she said, maybe I said something unwise, but it's highly unlikely that she would have gone on some sort of tirade or, something really that you'd think...
Well, people in our line of work do know what the law is in terms of actual hate speech that would be illegal.
Yes, and I think there's also been a bit of confusion about the law and the confusion about what Alison Pearson is being investigated under. So she says that when the police turned up at her house, they were accusing her of a non-crime hate incident. Now, this...
What on earth is that?
Well, this is where Orwell comes in. So we have the Kafkaesque element, that we don't know what the charge is. That's out of Kafka's The Trial. And now we have this non-crime hate incident, which is it makes no sense. It's a policing tool where basically someone can accuse you of something hateful. Again, you don't have to know what you've said. They don't even have to challenge the accusation, and it will be logged against your name. It will go against your employment records. It can completely mess up, your life if you want to work in a school or whatever it might be. There's no way of you even knowing necessarily that someone's logged it. It's only a courtesy for the police to come round and say that this has happened. The police are logging these all the time. Actually, the Telegraph's got a good feature on some of the recent examples. An ex-copper was logged with one because he said he identifies as a fish, respect my, mammal pronouns. Often it's people making jokes, people making snide remarks, and this then suddenly becomes into a police matter. But in a strange way, because it's not a crime, you can't really defend yourself against it either.
But if it's not a crime, why are the police getting involved?
Well, the police argument is that they think these things might escalate into a crime. But as we've seen over the years, with hundreds of thousands of these incidents being logged, actually, you know, I haven't seen a single example where the police have got it right and where the police have, you know, identified a case of, you know, someone who is genuinely liable to then go and commit, say, a racist attack. It is just a tool for policing speech. It is Orwellian, and it shouldn't be happening in a free society.
Well, let's listen to a clip of Alison Pearson last night.
Well, I said to them, how would I defend myself if I don't know any of the relevant details? And they looked a bit, you know, again, a bit confused. I think they may have been on a sort of bacon roll run when they were told to come up. But it was, I'll tell you now, Joe, it was shocking. It was upsetting. I'm a law-abiding person. Nobody likes to... I respect the police. I want to trust and respect the police. This seemed to me a completely mad overreaction.
All right, let's just tell you what Essex Police have said in response to all of this. They say the report relates to a social media post subsequently removed. An investigation is being carried out under Section 17 of the Public Order Act. As part of that investigation, officers attended an address on Sunday, November the 10th, to invite a woman to attend a voluntary interview on the matter. I mean, it really is thought police, which is frankly terrifying.
It is, and it will have a chilling effect on what people can say, because you're going to be thinking, you know, when you're tweeting, you should be tweeting freely. You're going to be thinking, are the police looking over my shoulder? And you would think that the police would have a bit of nous to not come after journalists. But clearly they feel that, you know, they are in charge, that it's their job now, presumably, to edit the news. This is something out of an authoritarian society. And it's really important to stress that this is happening on a much larger scale. This is not just Alison Pearson it's happening to. In this country, 9 people are arrested every single day for what they post online. In 2015 and 2016, we arrested more people in the UK for speech offences than were arrested during the entire first Red Scare in America. This attack on free speech is widespread. It is deeply disturbing. It needs to stop, but it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, because actually the Labour government wants to increase the use of non-crime hate incidents. They're very big on hate speech laws. I think particularly after the riots, they actually see this as a useful way of calming the population. I'm very worried about where this is going. Clearly, there are a lot of critics on the other side of the world. Elon Musk has come out against it. Boris Johnson has come out against it. But actually, I think the people in the current government are broadly in favour of this speech policing regime.
OK. Fraser Myers, good to see you. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a question in our poll of the day today, so we're asking, is free speech under threat in Britain? We'll bring the results live throughout the course of the day. Final result on Martin's show later.
Yes, and as always, for all the latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
It's really... you've got to draw a line. Free speech does not include hate speech or incitement to terrorism or things like that, or incitement to violence. However, most stuff, it's about... You can't just complain about someone because they say something you don't agree with. There's lots of stuff online I don't agree with, but you don't report people for saying it.
And also, the amount of violent crime in this country, the amount of theft, the amount of burglaries that are taking place, and you would never get 2 police officers at your door to come and investigate.
No.
But a tweet, you would. I mean, Alison Pearson's describing having 2 officers on her doorstep, 9:30 in the morning on Remembrance Sunday. Is that proportionate? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right, does it?
gbnews.com/you'll say, let us know what you think.
14 minutes past 6. Let's have a look at some of the other key stories happening this morning.
Over 30 Church of England clergymen could be sacked over their failure to act on complaints made against the prolific child abuser John Smith. The Church of England's safeguarding team is looking into the officials mentioned in the report. This comes as the Archbishop of Canterbury resigned after failing to report the child sex abuse scandal.
The father of Sarah Sharif has taken full responsibility for the death of his 10-year-old daughter. Uran Sharif admitted beating and killing Sarah, but denied murder. He told jurors at the Old Bailey yesterday, "She died because of me. I did not want to kill her," as his wife cried in the dock.
King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday today. Gun salutes are set to take place in Green Park and the Tower of London this afternoon to mark the occasion. Last night, King Charles made a glamorous entrance at the premiere of Gladiator 2, alongside A-listers Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal.
Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal?
Yes.
Well, I know who Paul Mescal is.
You'd know him?
Yeah, he's Paul Mescal, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know what I've seen him in, though.
He's in Normal People.
I haven't seen him.
And lots of other things as well now, but he's now Gladiator.
Who's Pedro Pascal?
I don't know. I'm going to Google. But I was reading about the... Oh, no, you do know him. You know his face.
No, I don't.
You'd know his face as well. No, you would. He's been in Narcos, The Last of Us, Fantastic Four, Game of Thrones. You've watched that?
I've never watched
Kingsman.
Game of Thrones, no.
Oh, OK.
I've never seen any Game of Thrones.
Oh, well, you should. Oh, you'd love it.
So-
You love all the fantasy stuff. It's really good. You'd really like that.
All right, OK.
Just, you know.
There you go. Well, Pedro, good luck to you, sir. No idea who you are, but I'm sure you're doing very well.
But the King's birthday today, 76. It's been a tough year for him, so I hope he enjoys it.
Yeah,
but
he's working today.
He is working today. He's at food banks and community centres.
You see, there's a man for you.
Bless him. Yeah.
There's a man. Well, let's hope it's going to shine on his birthday. Let's get the forecast with Aidan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well. We'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening, a lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue, and first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, Donald Trump returned to the White House yesterday for the first time in 4 years. Find out how it played out next.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a time for the vegan community to get together, as well as an opportunity for non-vegans to try going plant-based.
Well, joining us now is some of her delicious hummus. We both love hummus. This is a great thing. This is the founder of Chickpea, Hannah McCollum. Hannah, lovely to meet you. And you've brought in some of your beautiful products in front of you here. So can you talk us through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a range of chilled hummus and then
latest of the range are a new ambient snack pot, which is a fridgeless hummus that doesn't require refrigeration. But I started chickpea because of my love for hummus, but also sustainability and reducing food waste and encouraging people to be more plant-based without saying go vegan.
Does normal, say, traditional hummus have anything that's not vegan appropriate in it?
Not really.
No,
I think
it's always chickpeas, olive oil, maybe some other bits.
Yeah, lemon juice, aquafiber or water to help with consistency, garlic, and rapeseed oil or olive oil.
And there's a bit of a misconception about veganism that I hear a lot, where people say, "Look, I'm not a vegan. I love my steaks. I'll just get out of there now." But there's a misconception that you don't get the protein, you don't get the fats, and you're kind of just eating processed salads and fake meat and things. But that's not quite the case, especially with chickpeas, right?
Yeah, I think protein is really important, and actually a lot of people think I need a certain amount of fish every week or meat, but actually a lot of the fish and meat that you're eating are eating higher protein foods, so algae, seaweed, pulses, all these types of plant-based foods. For me, veganism is like you could have a delicious rye seeded bread with just loads of roasted vegetables, seeds, tahini sauce on top. That sounds and there's nothing beige in there at all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, 6:22. President-elect Donald Trump. Is he President-elect President Donald Trump? I should think he probably is. He's returned to the White House for a surprisingly cordial chat with President Biden. Have a listen.
Thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim. You're welcome.
Well, it's a very warm tone, isn't it? Very different to what we saw on the campaign trail. But is it just a case of keeping your friends close and your enemies closer?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just grown up a bit. We're joined by Chairman of Republican Overseas UK, Greg Swenson. Great to see you, Greg. I mean, look, what a difference between that meeting there and what we saw in 2016 when he met President Obama at the White House.
Yeah, it's night and day, and it was really awkward back then, if you recall. And look, I think in many ways you could argue Biden's more angry at Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi than he is at Donald Trump. They were very cordial yesterday. The really funny memes running around about Joe, the bromance, the new bromance between Trump and Biden. But yeah, I mean, it's good they kissed and made up. It's better for the country, better for everybody. But it is amazing. The last time they saw each other was June 27th at the debate. That was the beginning of the end of Biden's career.
Yeah.
But the other kind of funny rumor going around is that both Joe and Dr. Jill voted for Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it, but it is funny to contemplate that.
Yeah. And how are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris looking together? Because I saw a video of them together for the first time this week. It looked awkward between them.
Definitely awkward. And Jill, or Dr. Jill, really awkward. It was basically cold shoulder completely. So there's no love between Kamala and Dr. Jill.
It's going to be a long couple of months,
Dr.
isn't it?
Jill, by the way.
What are we meant to make of appointments that Trump is making to his cabinet so far? Because it's all seems to make a lot of sense until you get to Matt Gaetz.
That's right.
Who is a very controversial character.
That's right. I think it's a mistake. It's also, he's not likely to get confirmed. So I would imagine he'll drop out before getting to a Senate vote. But this, I think,
he's resigned from Congress, hasn't he?
I know, he has. And I think maybe there's plans anyway, because I imagine he wants to run for governor in 2026 when Ron DeSantis has to step down because he's term limited, or for the open Senate seat. Remember, Marco Rubio will likely get confirmed, and then he will resign his Senate seat. So maybe this is just a way to get on the front page. I don't think it works. I think that it would be a real stretch to imagine he gets confirmed. So, and it's rare that Senate confirmations are denied. Usually people end up dropping out prior to the vote if they know they don't have the votes. Now, this case, this is President Trump. He's disruptive. I think he's proven it, with some of his appointments. I love every one of his appointments until Matt Gaetz yesterday. I think this is a little bit of theater because there's just no way that he's going to get confirmed.
What do you make of the other choices so far?
Yeah, so far so good. And whether they're sort of down the middle, like Marco Rubio, I think is somewhat predictable. He's been around a while. He's a Tea Party, Party guy from 2010. And then you have, some of the ones are unusual, but I think they're great. And again, like Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, I mean, he's, not likely, you wouldn't have thought of him a week ago, but
no, you wouldn't at all.
I think he'll be great. I think there's a lot of, there needs to be reform in the bureaucracy, and the Pentagon is the biggest of the bureaucracy.
It's interesting, there he's on the front of the Metro this morning with his top off, and his US flag tattoo and all the rest of it.
He's got the flag, he's got the Jerusalem cross. I mean, he is a patriot, to say the least. And, he, having been an infantry officer, he's much closer to the front lines than any of these administrative guys have been, with a jacket full of medals, yet they've never been in combat. So I think it's a great move. I think, Tulsi, as in the office of basically the inner circle that runs all of the intelligence agencies, that's disruptive. I mean, she's a Democrat, has only been a Republican for the last year. So these are unusual, but I think really refreshing. Trump is disruptive. He should be.
And you're not concerned about the lack of experience in some of these posts? I mean, Matt Gaetz, barely any
Matt, I am.
Well, Matt is
and then, and then Pete Hegseth, I mean, he's got no government experience at all.
Yeah, well, and again, I think that's great, nor does Elon Musk. The less government experience, the better, depending on the situation.
Elon's an interesting take on all of this, because what's the figure that he sort of said he could cut? About $2 trillion a year out of the US budget.
It sounds like a big number, and it is. But, they spend $7 trillion a year. So something's has to change. And I think, having Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy come in, they're real innovators, these two. They're successful, obviously. So, bringing as much private sector intelligence to Washington is a great thing. That bureaucracy is so bloated, it has to be reformed.
I just wonder if it works. I mean, you wouldn't want, in a way, you wouldn't want to be a civil servant in the States at the moment, because who knows what's going to happen. If they come down brutally, I mean, a bit like he did at Twitter.
Sure.
Are people over here, do you think, going to look at that and say, well, perhaps we need that in the NHS or in the civil service?
Liz Truss wrote a great article, op-ed in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and saying just that. If the Europeans and the Brits could take a page out of Trump's playbook, I think it would be wise. Just deregulation, reform, tax reform, it's all good. And it worked in Trump's first term. He didn't even get to first base on a lot of this stuff, but just the tax reform and deregulation the first term helped create real wage growth, 6.8% wage growth. And now we've had minus 3.5%. Wages are down 3.5% since Biden took office. So just look at what works and what doesn't. And I think it would be great if the Brits and the rest of Europe piled onto that. And surely the voters are coming that way. You can see it in the elections in Germany last week, for example. You're seeing the voters move toward smaller government, less invasion of privacy, less invasion of the economic, the private sector by the government. And that's what's working. So, I would hope so.
Trump is going to enjoy a trifecta isn't he? How is that going to look in a second term? Because he's not going to get everything he wants, but it's certainly going to make the promises that he made easier to keep.
Absolutely. I think he's got to do as much as possible in the first term, because we could very well lose the Senate in 2026, if not possibly 2028. But yeah, I mean, he's got a lot to do, but it's very helpful having both the House and the Senate. The Senate is not filibuster-proof, so he's not going to be able to do things that the left would consider too radical. He's only got 53 senators. 2 of them are on the fence, and don't imagine they would confirm Matt Gaetz, for example. So I think we can look to some great accomplishments, but it's not going to be, just a free ticket.
Is that just briefly? Is that a good? Is that a good thing for democracy?
Listen, when we have a Democrat in the White House, I love divided government. When it's a Republican, I'm all for the trifecta.
Oh, there you go. Look, really good to see you.
Great.
So we'll see you a little bit later on. In fact, Greg.
Of course. See you in a few.
Now, how would you like to win your Christmas celebrations on us this year? Well, it's all up for grabs in our latest Great British giveaway. Here are all of the details that you need.
Yeah, best of luck to you. Still to come, Paul Coyte's got all the sport.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services between Selby and Doncaster are diverting via Goole again today because of an ongoing points problem. In West Yorkshire, the A644 is partly blocked westbound by an accident on Albert Road at Queensbury. In London, there are queues on Charing Cross Road heading up off Trafalgar Square towards Cambridge Circus because of the closure of Coxper Street for emergency repairs. On the M2 in Kent, there's a lane closed where there's an abandoned vehicle on the eastbound exit at Junction 3, the Chatham and Rochester turn. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking a quarter of an hour in delays approaching the M25 because of road works. In East Sussex, there's a report of an accident on the A259 along Barnhall Road in Bexhill. And in Hampshire, the A27 is closed each way along Southampton Road in Fareham after an accident around midnight. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 6:35. Let's have a look at the sport for you with Paul Coyte.
Right, David Coote. We better mention David Coote
He's
first.
the referee.
You know, if you have a bad week, sometimes you can have a bad week. Some of you have a terrible week. This is, I mean, what is the, if you've got an annus horribilis, what is the weak part of the annus instead of the year? It's the weakest horribilis.
Weakest horribilis.
Yes.
Yes.
There it is, front page of The Sun.
It's not great.
It really isn't. David Coote, the video emerged earlier on this week of him. Looked like he'd had a few drinks and was saying about Jurgen Klopp and was giving Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool Football Club a bad time. Then coming back, and then people were saying, oh, well, Liverpool fans, oh, well, this has probably affect the refereeing that he's been involved in. So then he's suspended by the PGMOL, who are the chief of referees, and now a new video's emerged, and this is on the front page of The Sun, allegedly with a certain white powder during this summer's Euros, and again filmed. And doesn't it make you wonder how these things end up being filmed? You know, especially the first one as well, and now this.
And then it comes out months later.
And it comes out months later.
I mean, this is they've been storing this up.
Yeah. So someone, it's like the video of, it was like 3 of them, and they were all talking about stuff, and they'd had a night out, and then starts asking him about what he thinks about Liverpool and what he thinks about Jurgen Klopp, and it's all filmed, and then it's like, I hope this is never going to come out, and you think, if you're in such a job, firstly, you don't get yourself involved in that, if you do, and secondly, don't be filmed doing this, because there you go. Yeah. What's going to happen now? Can you see any coming back from that?
No.
It's going to be very tricky.
Toast.
Absolutely.
Should we talk about England and Greece tonight?
Yes. Nations League. So if you remember last month, England lost to Greece, and they need to win, basically, to go back to League A of the Nations League. The Nations League is so complicated with different nations in different leagues. We're in the second one, which we should be in the first one, but we're not, but need to beat Greece. But the problem is there's been 8 withdrawals from the team. Now...
that's upset Harry Kane, hasn't it?
Yes. And
Has he withdrawn?
No.
No. He's being the captain. He's like...
Oh, he needs to score all the goals.
See, this has happened before, where it's not so much under Gareth Southgate, because under Gareth Southgate, it seemed that everybody was very happy to go along, and this is what Harry Kane was saying, you know, we want to play for England, it's fantastic to play for England and be part of it, whereas now we've got Lee Carsley, this is before Thomas Tuchel takes over, and it's almost like the school kids that are playing a bit truant from school. Oh, I've got a problem with my leg, or I'm injured, don't really fancy it, and it's that club over country, whereas Harry Kane is very much, you know, if your country calls, you should play. So there's 8 withdrawals. Now, I'm not saying they're all not injured or even saying that any of them, but it is questionable because 8 players to all pull out from an England squad is quite a lot.
Is it wrong for Harry to speak out?
I don't think it is. I think it's good that he's done that.
I think it's good that he speaks out, don't you think?
Exactly. I mean, he's the skipper, and he's always been very careful, and he's been very, very diplomatic, and he's very good as a captain. But just to let something go, he said, I don't like it, if I'm totally honest. I think England comes before any club situation. So there's Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, Jack Grealish, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Levi Colwill, Aaron Ramsdale as well. And so they're all missing. So how bad
it's not a good look, is it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a shame. But it's Lee Carsley's last 2 games, and then they play the Republic of Ireland on Sunday.
What are we to make of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul? There's been a bit of controversy around it. They're meant to be getting together in Texas on tomorrow, I think, isn't it?
It's tomorrow night. So it's a Netflix thing.
I don't know what... Oh, right. I don't know what to make of it. If I wouldn't want to be Jake Paul, I've got to be honest, facing Tyson.
Well... So if you're Jake Paul and you've dabbled around with boxing, you know, he's done quite well. He's 31, and then Mike Tyson is 58 years old.
Wow.
But Mike Tyson, of course...
Might bite your ear off.
Yeah, he could well do. Iron Mike, still got it in him. And I just... there's something within me and something within a lot of people in boxing that are worried about it, think something could go wrong. But for whom, I'm not really sure whether it's Jake Paul who's the one in trouble or it's Mike Tyson at 58. We've got something we'll show you a little bit later, and it's Mike Tyson being interviewed saying, I'm not a nice person. I don't care what I'm not nice. And this is what he's always lived for. He hasn't fought for 19 years, Mike Tyson. So no matter how good a fighter you are, at 58... I mean, they're fighting 8 2-minute rounds, and they're using 14-ounce gloves, which are bigger gloves, which means they're not going to pack quite the punch that the other gloves. But it's still something which is a little worrying. But it's all about the money. 30 million.
Well, clearly.
Mike Tyson's going to get 15 million, Paul gets 30 million because he's the big YouTube star. Right. And everybody wants to see this, and they would rather be seeing these sorts of fights, the public, than great heavyweights, the best fighters. It's almost like we'd rather see the celebrity stuff, and that is a problem for boxing because they've got to look at it and think, well, which direction do we go? Do we go with the money and then we do these sorts of things, or is it about the best of the best? And it doesn't really seem to be that way anymore.
No, for 15 million quid, I'd do it.
Hold on, so if
hey,
I'm thinking. So if Stephen, they say, look, this is the question everybody always gets asked, but 15 million.
Yeah.
You're going in with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I would as well. Just throwing it out there.
So what about you
I don't know
two
if I'd live to tell the
as
tale.
a tag team, like they used to in the wrestling? So one goes out, one goes in.
We'd be pathetic.
Big money. But that's it. That's the other thing is where people, well, I'd go in there.
You can be Big Daddy, I'll be Giant Ace.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't think we'd survive.
No, I don't think we'd survive, but
we'd be 15
but
million
our loved
richer.
ones would be.
I think you're quicker. I think you've got a reach. I think you've got a longer reach than Tyson's got. Yeah. But it could be like the old Laurel and Hardy thing, and you just run around and just run away from him constantly for 8 rounds.
Gets me to round 2, that'd be all right. Okay. Can we have a quick look at this ultra race?
Oh, yeah, should we have a look at this in Antarctica?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. I love stuff like this. 15 competitors. Ultra endurance, it's called. Do we have this? It's race in Antarctic. There we are. Look at this. Minus 25 degrees. So what they do, how awful must this be? A 4.2 kilometre loop of this base camp, which may sound fine, but they run 100 miles.
Oh, what?
It took the winner 23 hours, 22 minutes, just to keep doing this loop, round and round, minus 25 degrees. It tests resilience, fortitude, and, in my opinion, a little stupidity as well.
What would compel you?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Just sit on your sofa at home, have a nice cup of tea.
It's when they say, oh, yeah, I did it because it was there. I
don't understand people like this.
Well, there you
go.
Hats off to them. Say, well, look at the wonderful scenery. There's no scenery. There's just snow and sky.
Yeah, but if they need a drink, they're all right anywhere around.
Well, it's not. It's just ice.
Well, yeah, but they have...
Do you think they have hot drinks?
I don't think you get a chance.
I don't know. 23 hours of it. No, thank you.
Brilliant. Paul, thank you.
I watched the whole 23 hours live, by the way. Got so boring after about 20 minutes.
Thanks, Goity. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be bringing you this year's John Lewis Christmas advert in full. I've been told it's a tearjerker. Stay tuned.
Who cares?
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, they're even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here, we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
the different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to breakfast. Now, before we get into the papers, the highly anticipated Christmas advert from John Lewis has just been released. So let's take a look at it now.
John Lewis is closing in 15 minutes.
What are you looking for?
Something for you.
You're not going to find it.
No, not here.
I don't want a doll.
I want a nose ring. Jewellery. Is it a politician? What? It's common now. It's happening. Everything's going to be fine. He's healthy. He's amazing. He's the boy.
Yeah. No, come join us.
I can't.
This is mine. What's your problem? It doesn't even look good on you. Get out of my room. And you still haven't even found me a gift.
You actually came. Stop this face.
Oh, Sal, get out! What are you doing up there? Hurry up!
What took you so long? You.
Well, we're joined now by GP, author and broadcaster Dr Renee Honderkamp and former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker. I think I can read on Stephen's face how he's feeling about it. You're not sold.
I thought it was meant to be a tearjerker.
No, it didn't get me this year.
There's no men
you
in
too?
It. There's no men in it. There's no brothers,
Oh,
there's
you
no
wanted
fathers.
a man.
Well, there's no brothers, there's no fathers, there's no husbands, there's no grandpas. It's all women. Christmas is about family, which includes men and women.
OK, so you're missing the men, Norman?
I didn't think it did very much for me. I wasn't really clear what it was advertising, and you know, some of the adverts in the past, which have been really good adverts, you think that's a great advert, but what was the product? Yeah. And the same thing applies here. You know, it's hardly mentioned John Lewis.
I like it when it's like that sometimes, though, especially with ones that have gone previously with the animated animals and going on a journey together. I think it could be a tearjerker, but that wasn't really.
It's very confusing. I think it would take people a bit to work out what's actually going on.
Well, she's looking for a present.
She's going back in time.
You don't even know what she bought.
We don't know what she bought.
No, I wanted to see what she bought.
I thought there was something in an earlier trailer about a pink jumper or something, but that seems to have gone by the by. Maybe that was a... I don't know, it just seems so utterly pointless to me.
Yeah.
I agree. It didn't seem to promote John Lewis as the place where you can find everything, does it?
No.
I think on Jukebox Jury that was
Yeah.
No, we didn't love that. I think that's pretty clear. What did you make of it at home? Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right.
That's a shame. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, what a damn squib. Right, council tax is going to rise. In the Daily Mail, Renee?
Yeah, I mean, quelle surprise, I think, is the start point.
Well, except
because
Keir Starmer said it wouldn't.
I know he said that it wouldn't, but then they started leaking, didn't they, that actually it may be much, much higher than this. So at £110, some people go, oh, I can cope with that, it's not too bad. It's a disgrace. You know, inflation's running at about 1.7%, and they're going to put it up by 5%. And I heard them say this morning on a radio station that we would have to wait and see because some councils may not put it up the full amount. I mean, who are you trying to kid? They're going to put it up by the full 5%.
But is this to pay for social care?
No, I think that social care is a separate part of it, isn't it? You get to pay that anyway as an extra part. But I think what it's going to do is just go into the coffers and just fill some of the council's black holes. Councils are all going bust.
Yes, they are. That's the point. Councils are going bust, and this policy of forcing councils to raise council tax has gone on now for about 20 years, as a matter of fact. And it's a way of the government shuffling off responsibility of the day, shuffling off responsibility into councils, saying it's not us, mate. It's these local councils who are pushing the money up. And that, you know, 5% is way above inflation, as Rennie says. It's not just that. Look at rail fares; they're being forced up 4.6%, I think, next year. So there's a lot of increases on cost of living, which the government's saying not us, but actually is them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very concerning. It's for those people who are already stretched.
Yeah.
And your pensioners who are, you know, already for 300 quid worse off and all the rest.
And you're paying more for less because councils are going bust. They're shutting libraries. They're not collecting the same amount of, you know, not the same regular waste collection service as there used to be in some cases.
Potholes?
Like the potholes are everywhere. They're legendary across the country. I mean, you know, local councils are falling to bits.
I mean, I actually think, just like government, actually, councils need to be stripped down to nothing and rebuilt from the bottom up, and they need to supply us with our infrastructure, our roads, our waste collection, you know, our social care, although I think social care should be brought into the NHS, but whilst they're responsible for it. And everything else they do should be scrapped. Everything.
Well, libraries.
No, libraries is part of education.
OK.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of thing they should be doing.
I'll tell you what, I drove through Oxford yesterday and I noticed it was twinned with about 8 different places, which all costs, actually, a huge amount of money to do, doesn't it? You think, what a waste of...
Well, a few freebies or important overseas visits for councillors.
Yeah. It's twinned with about 8 places. Couldn't believe it.
Norman, great story in the Times today about France pushing for the D-Day landing beaches to have UNESCO status.
Yes, I mean, this is in my view, a kind of interesting but also a kind of novel approach, because normally UNESCO listings are for buildings or structures, like, you know, the Great Wall of China or Stonehenge or something like that. So the idea that they would actually put forward a proposal for something which is a piece of land used for a particular purpose is slightly different from what you would normally see, which is why I think UNESCO are being slightly iffy about it. But, of course, it's not been decided yet, so they may well go along with it. But, I mean, the idea we should not destroy the area where D-Day landings took place seems to me to be quite right.
Yeah, I think it just makes a lot of sense.
I think anything that actually embeds and imparts information to our children in education about what happened in the war and what D-Day was is a good thing, and I'm all for it.
No, well, let's hope that goes through, actually, because loads of stuff are UNESCO heritage status things. Some of them you look at and think, why? But that's a really important one, I think.
Yeah, and it's right that it's protected, it's right that it's remembered as well. Let us know what you think on that one. Thank you, you two. I'm afraid we're out of time.
Okay.
Sorry it's been brief. We'll see you in the next hour. Let's have a look at the weather now with Aidan McGinn.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well, we'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening, a lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue, and first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Train services between Selby and Doncaster are diverting via Goole again today because of an ongoing points problem. There are buses replacing trains too between Selby and Doncaster. In West Yorkshire, the A644 is blocked westbound by an accident on Albert Road off the A647 in Queensbury. In London, there are queues on Charing Cross Road heading north from Trafalgar Square to Cambridge Circus because of the closure of Cockspur Street for emergency repairs. On the M2 in Kent, there's a lane closed on the eastbound exit at Junction 3, the Chatham and Rochester turn, where there's an abandoned vehicle. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour, and westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. In East Sussex, there's a report of an accident on the A259 along Barnhorn Road in Bexhill, and in Hampshire, the A27 is closed along Southampton Road in Fareham after an accident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's only on demand.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Is it a free speech breach?
Yes, Essex police are facing backlash after being accused of an appalling attack on free speech.
Elon Musk, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage all condemning the investigation into journalist Alison Pearson.
While speaking to Nigel Farage last night, here's what Alison Pearson had to say.
Seemed to me a completely mad overreaction. Whatever it was that I posted a year ago on X, I'm not in the habit of writing anything horrible and inflammatory. If I wrote something that was unwise, I still don't think that's a proportionate response.
Biden welcomes Trump back to the White House in a very cordial meeting.
This is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get.
Labour touts a 5% council tax rise. That's despite promising the amount that households pay would not increase. In a few moments, the Shadow Secretary for Housing, Kevin Hollinrake, joins us after Kemi Badenoch lambasted Labour in the Commons.
I think the House would have heard that the Prime Minister could neither confirm nor deny whether there was a cap in council tax was being raised. So I will ask him this question. How much extra does he expect local authorities will have to raise to cover the social care funding gap created by the Chancellor's budget and increases in employers' NI?
The government announced the biggest pension reforms in a generation. Pension schemes will roll into a mega fund. We'll talk to the Pensions Minister, Emma Reynolds, later.
King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday today with gun salutes marking the special occasion after what's been a challenging year for the royal family.
Failing hospitals will be named and shamed as part of the government's NHS overhaul, but will pitting hospitals against each other cause more issues than it solves? We'll debate that shortly.
And the long-awaited John Lewis Christmas advert has been released this morning. Here's a snippet.
John Lewis is closing in 15 minutes.
I'm still tearing up. What is she going to buy?
Who knows?
I don't know. And in the sport, Premier League referee David Coote, he's having a very bad week. Landed himself even in more trouble. England play Greece tonight. Harry Kane's not happy about players not turning up for that. And clubs line up to sue Manchester City.
It's another fine day for many of us, but it's not going to be quite as sunny as recent days. Increasingly cloudy and in some places damp. Full forecast coming up soon with me.
Just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, you're not loving the John Lewis ad. I'll give you that this morning. Rob, I love you. He says, I've got a radical idea for a Christmas advert. Play an actual Christmas song over an advert that celebrates Christmas. All these adverts now are cooked up by people who love avocados and chai tea. So with you. I am so with you, Rob.
Yeah, just bring it back to basics. That might be the way. Oh, wait, Janet says, didn't get the advert. No, neither did we. We were a bit confused.
A lot of people are like that.
So she's buying presents for it's her history. You see the girl, and it's talking about her sister, and obviously a fractured relationship with her sister over the years, little bits of it, and then eventually, then she doesn't know what to buy because they're not that close, and then they have a moment. I quite liked it.
Oh, did you?
I did. I quite liked it.
And Neil says it was almost as bad as Norman Baker's jacket.
Oh,
sorry,
no,
Norman.
no.
If he's watching, sorry, Norman.
He'll be watching in the green room as we speak. Christina says she doesn't understand it. Yeah, that's the same as us.
Anna says it'll cost a fortune to produce. Why not use the money to take it off the cost of goods?
Yeah, that's true. And Sean says they're always so focused on London. Looks nothing like where I live. Yeah. That's also true. They should do it somewhere else in the country, don't you think?
What happened to Santa Claus, teddy bears and families and children, says Susan Smith. Yeah. I agree.
Elaine says, is it supposed to be a tearjerker or happy? Or is it meant to make us shop? A damp squib, as Stephen says.
All right, well, if you missed it before, here's just a little tiny taste.
This is mine. What's your problem? It doesn't even look good on you.
Yeah, well, there you go. Kerry likes it. Kerry Ann says it promotes giving some real thought to the gift you buy for those you love. Yeah. Well, except she's doing it in the last 15 minutes before the shop shuts.
No, that's true. I did think you need to carve out a bit more time to shop for your sister.
Jill doesn't mince her words, and she's saying what we all thought, I think. She said, the John Lewis advert, I thought the sister was dead.
Oh, no.
It's very confusing.
No.
To be fair, Jill, we've all said that in the studio. I thought she was dead or about to die.
But the thing is, though, what does she buy then at the end? And then that could all get a bit uncomfortable. It's just like mini films, though. I think the whole thing for me is they're mini films and they're kind of sponsored by John Lewis. And it's just like a mini film. Whether it's an advert, it's not even a proper advert. It's like, I think even Benetton tried this like 30 years ago. They're mini films and parts of life, and then you look at them, but they're sponsored by the company less than trying to advertise for them.
Yeah.
Well, keep your views coming in. Certainly got you talking this morning. Duncan says, I like the new advert. I'm a big advocate of women doing all the shopping.
Fabulous stuff. Fabulous stuff. Nigel doesn't like it because there's no men in it. Perhaps white heterosexual men don't celebrate Christmas, he says.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you can't... But then would you moan because you included everybody in it? Then would it have to be... I don't know. I just don't think it just doesn't do it for me at all.
But then a couple of people saying...
Bob B, John Lewis adverts, never knowingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
There's also that. But a few people just saying at least it's not controversial.
Oh, well,
nice thing. It's just a girl going shopping for her sister at Christmas.
Yeah.
So nice and simple.
Yeah, not remotely controversial. Ain't that the truth?
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right.
You've blown up the inbox with all your views. It's certainly dividing you.
Jolly good. Right, now, one of the things we're talking about this morning is council tax. Because do you remember, Keir Starmer said, you elect us and council tax won't go up for a year. We're going to freeze it for a year. Doesn't look like now. Could be going up by about 5%. Let's talk to the Shadow Secretary of State for Levelling Up Housing and Communities, Kevin Hollinrake. Kevin, good to see you this morning. I mean, they haven't admitted it's going up yet, have they?
Well, the Prime Minister had to clarify that after Kemi Badenoch asked him yesterday what was happening with council tax. He didn't seem to know. And then Number 10 had to come out and clarify, because I don't think he understood what was actually going to happen. So it's going up by 5%. We're very worried that's going to be not see an improvement of services alongside that. And of course, it comes on the back of this £25 billion jobs tax, which the Chancellor doesn't seem to realise is going to mean higher prices, lower wages, and lots of impacts on areas she hadn't considered, things like GP surgeries. So really, really damaging, and the Kemi Badenoch yesterday had to tease that out of him, really. Had he really thought about this? So having said there'd be no tax increases, everything was fully costed and fully funded. Now we realise there's £25 billion of taxes, which really is going to hit working people, and even people who are not working and just buying stuff because things are going to be dearer in the shops.
The Tories do differently.
Well, we could reform welfare. I mean, welfare is costing tens of billions of pounds more than it was pre-pandemic. We could make the public sector more efficient. It's costing tens of billions of pounds more to run the public sector than it was in terms of efficiency terms, because it's 7% less efficient than it was pre-pandemic. That's what we had a plan to do. Instead, what we've seen is Labour just doing what they said they wouldn't do, which is jump for the tax-raising lever, which is about £70 billion of tax increases and borrowing extra every single year. And they said they wouldn't.
The issue is, though, that there is a £2.4 billion black hole in local government finances. And that's going to have to be addressed quickly, isn't it?
Well, we were going to deliver on those things by reforming welfare, by reforming productivity. We had a plan to do that. You know, we don't object to increasing council tax. That was something we had planned as well, or we did previously. But we always tied it to improved services. That's what you've got to do to make the service more efficient. The public sector is 7% less efficient than it was in 2019. We spend about £1.2 trillion every year on the public sector. So if you put those numbers together, that's about £70 billion a year of efficiencies that could be made. Labour hasn't gone for that at all. It's just gone to raise taxes on working people, on businesses, which all impacts also on prices. And this isn't just me talking. The OBR have said themselves that £25 billion a year tax rise we saw in the budget, 75% of it will go to working people in the form of lower wages or in terms of higher costs, higher prices. That's the reality of this. It's so damaging, and that's why businesses who were previously supportive of Labour's idea for growth have come out now against them, and they're saying this will hit growth, this will hit jobs, this will hit wages, and this will hit prices in terms of prices going up.
If legitimate question to ask is this: you keep comparing things to where we were pre-pandemic. Well, we've been out the pandemic for quite a number of years, and all these changes you say that you would make, you didn't make when you were in government.
That's a very fair point. You know, there's things we should have done, and listen, I'm not bleating about the election result. We deserve to lose. I've said that a number of times. But these are the options we have now. This is where we had a plan to do. Yes, it's right. It's true that 900,000 more people of working age have left the workplace to go on long-term sickness benefits. A lot of that down to mental health. We had a way to deal with that, to make sure those people came back into work, supporting people back into work, because we think actually work for most people is good for their mental health. But you have to tackle these thorny problems. We've not seen any plans from Labour. We've simply seen them sticking up taxes and borrowing more to the tune of collectively £70 billion a year. So you've got to take tough choices in government. We've seen people saw what our choices would have been. They've got to judge Labour by their choices now, having said they won't increase taxes, increasing taxes by the 25 billion jobs tax and £15 billion of extra taxes, so £40 billion a year in total. That's what people are going to have to suffer. Ultimately, that all hits working people and hits prices.
Can I ask you about an investigation into Telegraph journalist Alison Pearson? She alleges that 2 police officers turned up on her doorstep on Remembrance Sunday morning, 9:40 in the morning, to say she was being investigated for a tweet that she posted and then deleted over a year ago, allegedly stirring up racial hatred. What does this mean for free speech and free expression in this country when you have police who are, well, policing posts from journalists on Twitter?
Well, it's very worrying. I think the timing of it, I think the fact it's a journalist, I can't imagine, she wasn't able to talk about what she'd actually said in this tweet, but I can't imagine Alison Pearson would be somebody who would instigate some kind of hatred or violence against individuals. That's what that law is supposed to prevent. If it actually is then used to prevent freedom of speech, that's absolutely fundamentally wrong. There are some fundamental principles in society that we have that we must defend at all costs. Freedom of speech is one of them, freedom of press is another, and both these things seem to be under threat by this move by the police. You know, the police have a tough job to do, there's no question about it, and there's no way people should be inciting violence against anybody else on Twitter and social media, as they shouldn't do in a pub or anywhere else. But when you are talking about journalists who are speaking freely, that should not be a matter for the police, in my view.
What are we to make of the fact it's classed as a non-crime hate incident? If it's a non-crime, why are the police looking into it anyway?
Well, exactly, and this is where suddenly these lines are so blurred in terms of people don't know what to say, so they end up saying nothing, which is obviously very counterproductive in terms of defending free speech. So we need clarity around this, but you know, the police are there really to be locking up dangerous criminals, people who are violent on our streets, people who break into houses, those kind of things. That should be the real focus of police. We made some changes here from our previous Home Secretaries who said the focus should be on those kind of offences, not in terms of people speaking out and saying what they think. So I say nobody should be inciting violence, telling people to go out and do something against another individual that is violent. That is something clearly that cannot happen, should not happen. But I doubt Alison Pearson and other journalists would be guilty of those kind of things. So we need to make sure that the police draw the line in the right place, and it's up to the Home Secretary, I think, and the Prime Minister to come out clearly and say what they'd expect to happen in situations where journalists are raising legitimate concerns but then are facing these kind of actions from the police.
OK. Kevin Hollinray, good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, for more on that story, Deputy Editor of Spiked Online, Fraser Myers, is here. I mean, it does raise an awful lot of questions. I mean, partly because, and let's be clear, we keep saying, well, she's very unlikely to have said anything like this. We don't know what she said. And actually, she said, because it was more than a year ago, she doesn't remember.
Yeah, I mean, this is straight out of the stuff of dystopian fiction. You're being accused of a crime, but you can't know what the crime is. So how can you defend yourself? This is utterly bizarre, utterly a very strange use of police resources. Let's not forget, 2 policemen turning up on Remembrance Sunday. I can imagine if she'd have been burgled, those policemen would not have turned up, I dare say. Perhaps if you are a victim of the crime, perhaps you should also add, and also someone tweeted something nasty about me, will you come around and see me? We don't even know who the victim is. We don't know who's made this accusation. We don't know how serious the accusation is. We are completely all in the dark, as is Alison Pearson herself. Perhaps she'll find out when she attends this voluntary police interview that she's been invited to. I think, what this reminds us is that, the state of the laws in this country essentially allow the police to police our thoughts. This is, under the hate speech laws, under the Public Order Act, but it gives them such a wide remit to police potentially anything. Once you allow the police to have that power, then you are getting into the business of thought policing. It's very difficult to have, we can all think of sensible examples of it, but really in practice what happens is the definition of hate expands and expands and expands, and now it's including journalists. It might have started off as we want to police the far right, but now we're policing mainstream Telegraph journalists, and that really is a problem that needs to be pushed back on. What happens is...
It's a bit like the university debate thing, isn't it, where people keep getting cancelled because people won't agree with what they have to say.
Absolutely. That began, the no platforming policy began as no platforming for fascists. It very quickly became no platforming for feminists. As we become more intolerant, we narrow the range of opinions that we think we can tolerate hearing. And unfortunately, the law empowers the most offended to make complaints to the police. It may be the case that they investigate it as a crime, as they're doing in this case, or they may record it as a non-crime hate incident, which is this Orwellian policing tool that allows the police to record, essentially put a black mark against your name if you're accused of saying something that someone somewhere considers to be hateful. And again, you have on these occasions, you have no way of defending yourself against this. Sometimes the police don't even have to inform you. So you might have a non-crime hate incident logged against you right now, and you have no idea until you apply for a job and you're told that you're a hateful, bigoted person. There really needs to be reform in this area, but I just don't really have faith that the Labour government is going to take an interest, because not only have they said they want to beef up the non-crime hate incident in the wake of the riots, but Keir Starmer's own track record on free speech is absolutely appalling. People may remember around 10 years ago, there was the first person put on trial for a joke on Twitter. He jokingly said, he's going to blow up his local airport.
Oh, yes.
Who was the director of public prosecutions at the time, pushing for him to be charged, pushing for him to be jailed, essentially? It was Keir Starmer. So that doesn't bode well for free speech in this country.
OK. Fraser Myers, good to see you. Thank you very much. Well, a spokesperson for Essex Police has said the report relates to a social media post which was subsequently removed. An investigation is now being carried out under Section 17 of the Public Order Act. As part of the investigation, officers attended an address on Sunday, November the 10th, to invite a woman to attend a voluntary interview on the matter.
Right, well, it's all part of our poll of the day today. We're asking, is free speech under threat in Britain? We'll bring the results live throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. You can scan the QR code if you're watching on the TV, which is there now. We'll have the final result in Martin's show later. And if you're listening on the radio, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, President-elect Donald Trump returned to the White House for a surprisingly cordial chat with President Joe Biden yesterday. Let's take a look.
Thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe. You're welcome.
Well, it's a very different tone to what we saw on the campaign trail. But is it a case of keeping your enemies close? Yeah, don't know.
No, I'm not sure. It looked like two old friends, actually, together in the Oval Office. I mean, it's all over the front pages this morning. A moment in history, really. The two of them sitting really close together, big handshakes.
Well, look, it was
warm,
smooth
actually.
transition of power. I mean, you've got to give credit to both sides for that one, haven't you? Let's find out from Chairman of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson. Greg, morning. Am I right? This is a credit both to the Democrats and the Republicans, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, considering the vitriol between the two of them over the last few years. And, only a few weeks ago, Biden was calling Trump everything, a Nazi, a fascist, and this threat to democracy. And it looks like they've kissed and made up. I think part of it is the fact that there's this kind of breakup between Kamala Harris and Biden. And I think Biden is still really bitter about getting pushed to the side back in July. So, he's reaching out to Trump. And I think in many ways it was pretty obvious. You saw the clip from yesterday. The tension between Jill Biden and Kamala is pretty obvious, too.
And we haven't seen scenes as cordial as this in years, have we? I mean,
No.
2016 did not look like this.
No,
2020,
not at all.
it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. That's right. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I mean, it's good to see, first of all, and I think Biden's got to consider his legacy now. He's been, he's really pushed to the side of the road in July. He hasn't been very visible, very often. I don't think Kamala wanted him campaigning for her, and I don't think it helped anyway.
He didn't help.
Right, yeah. I mean, saying that she was in the room, and was involved in every decision just made her look worse.
Yeah.
Because it was really a failed administration. So
Is this a sign of things to come and I'm not trying to be too critical, but, in 2016 with Obama, it was Trump looking the other way, not wanting to engage.
Yeah.
2020, of course, it was Trump not wanting to do this very thing. Has he grown up a bit?
Possibly, and I think, look, he's a disruptive politician. I mean, when he came into office in 2017, he was the disruptor, and he didn't appreciate the fakeness, the artificial nature of these political moments. And look, I think Obama was very, very skeptical of Trump, and I know people that were with them on Inauguration Day, and Obama was, very, very suspicious of Trump. He spoke highly of Mitt Romney after he won in 2012, and he was very critical in private of President Trump. So I think this snobbery is obvious on the left, and I think this is Biden's moment to try to get over the snobbery and appeal to the common voter, which used to be very Biden. That was kind of his whole spiel was, Scranton Joe from Pennsylvania, the working man was his friend, and he lost that in the last 4 years because he was rolled over by the progressive left wing of his party. So good for him for trying to change that.
What do you make of Donald Trump's selections for his cabinet so far? Because there's some controversial choices.
Yeah, so far so good. I thought it might be a mistake nominating Matt Gaetz yesterday. I thought Pete Hegseth, unusual and a surprise to many, but I think a great call. He's definitely a big supporter of the troops. He was an infantry officer. He won 2 Bronze Stars. He's been a really great advocate for veterans, and the fact that he's not part of a big bureaucracy, I think, is welcome. They need reform. Matt Gaetz, very much, very controversial. I don't think he'll get approved in the Senate or
There's
confirmed.
some investigation anyway.
Yeah, he's got some hair on him, but it also points to the fact that the Justice Department absolutely needs reform. Merrick Garland, besides being a really bad guy, has weaponized the justice system against his political opponents. That's outrageous. He also weaponized the justice system against concerned parents at school board meetings, referring to them as domestic terrorists. I mean, this really needs reform. Now, so I think nominating Matt Gaetz is sending a message that Merrick Garland, has no place in the Justice Department or shouldn't have. And so, it's a pretty aggressive way of making that statement. Again, I don't think he'll get confirmed, but it doesn't make him a terrible choice. It just means that, he's thrown another grenade in the room, and that's very Trump-like.
Okay. Good to see you, Greg.
Good to be here.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Right. Let's just remind you of our Great British Giveaway, should we? Because at a time when money is tight, and it looks like it might be getting tighter, we could give you Christmas this year. All the cash, all the trimmings, with all the details of how you could win. Here you go.
We're giving you the chance to win everything you need to celebrate the festivities. There's £20,025 in tax-free cash.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, NHS hospitals that underperform will be named and shamed under new plans set out by Health Secretary Wes Streeting.
Yeah, managers are going to be at risk of being sacked if they fail to improve patient care and get spending under control.
But is all of this pitting hospitals against each other, and is it going to lead to toxic working environments?
Let's talk to NHS doctor Dr Basha Mukherjee and NHS GP Dr Mark Pickering. Good to see you both. A bit of healthy competition, Mark?
Well, I think some competition can be helpful, but I do worry about league tables, because if it all comes down to where are you in the league table, then I do think there's a real chance of that toxic working culture that we know about. If we make human beings compete with each other, then all too easily it could be down to what do I need to do to advance two spaces up the league table and beat the local competition. I think standards are very different. And if we have accountability and standards, we can have dashboards and that sort of thing so that you know if you're performing well. I love the ideas of turnaround teams and an NHS management college, extra support and that sort of thing. But I don't think league tables as it stands are the best way to do that.
OK, Dr Basha Mukherjee, what do you make of it?
Well, I think, to say that at the moment the work culture is not already toxic, which I feel is a big part of why staff retention is poor in some hospitals, and to, think that I think league tables are actually a really good idea, because actually then it shows some transparency, at least for the patients and for staff members, whether they want to work in an environment which, is not working well. And in these hospitals, and I've worked in some of these hospitals myself, and some of the hospitals that I've worked at, they have been resource poor. But actually, what's held these hospitals together has been, the staff, the morale and positive work culture. But actually, equally, there are lots of hospitals that don't have this, and they have a really big staff turnover. They cannot retain staff. There's bullying going on, and this all plays a part in why the hospital as a whole doesn't work in some places. And I think league tables will finally bring some transparency and allow people to be able to see what is the root cause of these hospitals not working very well.
Well, except isn't Dr. Pickering right in the sense that dashboards and things would help better with that than league tables, which are a very blunt tool?
I guess in a way, we don't know exactly what West Streeting is referring to in terms of this league table, but I do know that he has referred to essentially patients having transparency of where they want to be referred to. And I think that's a really good idea because, unfortunately, at the way things are at, each hospital gets paid more per referral, per patient. And actually, if they're not performing well, I don't think they should be paid. And I don't think they should be paid for essentially continuing to work in a non efficient way. At the moment, and I've been a junior doctor myself, I know that there's absolutely no barring on how many investigations the hospital doctors are doing, and for that reason, they're wasting so much money. So I do think there needs to be a little bit of that stick going on. I think there's been too much of the carrot all these years, which has forced hospitals not to change. They just keep going on in the same old ways that they've been going on for so many years.
OK, Dr. Mark Pickering, what do you think? Less of the carrot, more of the stick?
Well, I think you can have different kinds of sticks, can't you? And I do think that regulation is a good idea. Clinicians are regulated by the General Medical Council, the Nursing and Midwifery Council, and that certainly can, in some situations, be weaponized against individual clinicians or whistleblowers. If you don't shut up and toe the line, we'll refer you to your regulator. There isn't the same thing that you can do currently for a difficult NHS manager. And I do think some regulation, more training, West Streeting's mentioned an NHS Management College. I think that could be a really good idea so that there is actual personal accountability. We do hear stories sometimes of, one manager failing in one area, but then getting a golden handshake, moving on to another job in another trust and just doing the same thing there. We don't want to have that sort of thing. But I still don't think league tables are a good idea because we talked about recruitment. If you see that one hospital is a few steps down, you think, I don't want to go there, then that could turn you into a recruitment death spiral so that nobody wants to go there. What we want to do is inspire people to come and turn around places that are difficult. I'm speaking as a Christian. I lead the Christian Medical Fellowship. We want our members to be going into areas where there are difficulties and challenges in order to help turn those around, not just to say, well, I'm going to go to a well-performing hospital where the morale's good. That won't help us if we do that. But I do think some kind of manager regulation would be a really good idea. Like I say, I think, the temptation to score points and just move up the table would be a really bad thing, and human nature would go for that. I mean, how would we feel if individual hospital doctors, individual GPs, individual journalists, individual MPs were all ranked in league tables? We'd all think, goodness, what have I got to do to look a bit better? We wouldn't necessarily be thinking about the things that are underlying all of that. And I do think dashboards would be a much better way to do that.
Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Pickering, good to see you both this morning. Thanks very much indeed. This is why I enjoy hearing all sides of the debate, because I thought I'd be with Dr. Mukherjee on that one. But actually, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's the idea that it's a very blunt tool, and actually you need to not just get people going to better hospitals, you need to turn around those hospitals that are failing and find out why they're failing.
And it can't be good for morale either. I know that Dr. Mukherjee was saying it's good for morale to see yourself in a table setting, but actually you'd imagine if you're slipping down, you won't want to work there anymore.
No, so maybe dashboards is the answer to that, so you can see the areas in which you're not doing as well, and therefore then you are forced to improve that. Interesting. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Still to come, a British man has been crowned cliff diving world champion. Rather him than me, I think. Paul Coyte's going to be here to tell us all about it next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Lothian, the A70 is closed in both directions near to Harbrigg Reservoir at Harburn, causing delays. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 27 from Chain Bar to Gilderson, with queues towards and past there. Also in West Yorkshire, the A644 is blocked eastbound by an accident on Brighouse Road at Queensbury. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, there are southbound queues after traffic was stopped because of an accident between junctions 18 and 17 from the A5, A4 to 8 Rugby turn to the M45. In Essex, the A113 Ongar Road is partly blocked by an accident at A Bridge. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And in Somerset, the A303 is partly blocked by an accident at Tintinhull. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back.
We're talking names.
We are.
Yes, no, Henry, as in, like, Henry is shortened to Harry.
Right.
So, like, Prince Harry is actually Prince Henry.
But what about Harold? What do you call Harold, then? Do they call King Harold King Harry?
You could also go with Harry on that one as well.
So Harry could be Henry or Harold?
Yes.
OK, fine.
Yeah.
And Harrison.
Harrison. Oh, that's very American.
Very American.
He Harrison.
Not sure about that.
Yeah.
Should we talk about David Coote?
Yes.
He's in trouble, isn't he?
Oh, dear, what a bad week. I tell you, if you're ever going to have a bad week, it can't get much worse than this for David Coote, Premier League referee. The video emerged a couple of days ago of him in conversation, being filmed with, supposedly with friends.
In conversation.
In conversation with David Coote. This is going to be a very interesting TV show. Whereas he's having a go at Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool, and anyway, it was all very embarrassing and a real mess. And the PGMOL, who are the referees' body in charge of the referees, then suspended him. And now another video's come out. This is on the front page of The Sun today. Allegedly snorting a white powder during this summer's Euros. You know what? He just needs to keep away from mobile phones and people phoning him. But what a mess this is. I mean, you look at this, and is it someone that's kept this back, and you always wonder what's behind it.
It's been which paper is it? In The Sun?
That's in The Sun.
It's been sitting in their safe for months.
Do you think? Or do you think someone's sat on it for months and just given it to
No.
Because there's two. There's the other video
The
as
other
well.
video.
So then that one comes, and now the other one. And if there's any... You think from the first video, maybe there's a way that he could come back and apologise and maybe not referee Liverpool games. And now with this one, you know, that's a whole career
out the window.
Disappeared. It really has. So, yeah, very messy business. England versus Greece is tonight in the Nations League.
Oh, yes.
International break. I'm not the biggest fan of the international breaks. I kind of miss the Premier League, and I don't mind an international break every now and again, but this is the third one already through this season. So England lost to Greece at Wembley. They need to beat them. I'm trying to get excitement to say, oh, they could go up into the top of the Nations League, but for what it is, it's all about the European Championship and also about the World Cup for me, the Nations League. There's 8 withdrawals. Harry Kane has not been too happy about that.
No. Who's out? Who's pulled out? Which big names?
It's Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka is out. These are all big names.
Big names, yeah.
Cole Palmer, your favourite?
Oh, I like Cole Palmer.
Jack Grealish, Trent Alexander-Arnold. These are not...
all the big names.
And then it'd be interesting to see whether they are fit enough to play for their club.
At least Jack Grealish has got a valid excuse, hasn't he?
Well...
He's not fit to play for his own side at the minute, is he?
But the thing is, there's injuries in there, but I think what's been alluded to is that it's club over country, and the fact that Lee Carsley, this is his last 2 games in charge before Thomas Tuchel comes in, and it's almost like players going, you know what, we'll wait till the new guy comes in. But really, playing for England should mean everything. I was friends with the late, great Ray Clements. Ray, who was England goalkeeper, and then he was on the coaching staff of England. And I remember him telling me years ago about a player that decided they couldn't really be bothered to come in. He just could not believe that anybody would turn down the chance to play for England. But it's a different game to what it was then. It's all about money and prestige, and the prestige is not playing for your country anymore. It's making loads of money and being all over the TV and being all over the world in the Premier League. So it's a shame. But anyway, it is a big game for them tonight. Republic of Ireland, they play on Sunday. Republic of Ireland play Finland. And the big game tonight is Malta versus Liechtenstein.
Oh, can't wait.
Yes.
Just briefly, tell us about hurling yourself off a cliff.
And again, what would compel you? That's my question.
Well, cliff diving.
Yeah.
The World Championships in Sydney. This is unbelievable. That's Rhiannon Ifland from Australia, but the male winner is British. It's the first British world title. His name is Aidan Heslop. Hopefully we'll see more cliff diving than flag waving, but there we are. They're 20 metres...
Is that in?
20 metres up. Now, look at that.
Well,
so it's not actually a cliff. It's actually... Well, you can't just, make a cliff. So this is the Australian. Look at the height. It's unbelievable. I remember jumping off, the second highest board at Harold Hill swimming pool and was terrified. They just fling themselves off.
Can I just say that I'm very disappointed it's not actually a cliff?
That should be a cliff now. Come on, you
But
can't
there's
call it
only
cliff
certain
diving.
places. It's only
a diving board.
Acapulco. And if you've seen Fun in Acapulco, Elvis, did you ever see Elvis in Fun in Acapulco? He'd dive in the water, and then as he'd appear, his hair would be completely dry. How he did that, I don't know. But this is the Cliff Diving World Championships. They're the women. I want to see Aidan.
Have we not got clips?
Have we not got Aidan? Hopefully we'll see Aidan. There's Aidan. He looks like he's celebrating, and he's got to dive first.
Just jump off, pal.
Yeah, come on. Just off you go.
We're running out of time.
Have you noticed they land on their feet as well? Look at it. He's doing a run-up here. This is incredible. Here we are.
There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely perfect.
It's a long way down.
It's a long way down.
Oh, well, good on him. Good on him.
Well done.
Very nice to see.
Well done, Aidan.
Yeah, unless the family are all looking happy, it's good for him.
Good. Right, we're out of time.
Thanks,
I'm not surprised.
Coity.
We'll see you later.
Thank you very much.
We'll be going through the papers next.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The row over Prince Harry's US visa will be brought back into focus.
Earlier this year, Nigel Farage asked Donald Trump about this very issue. Let's take a listen.
No one knows the truth. What did he put on his American visa form?
If they know something about the drugs and if he lied, they'll have to take appropriate action.
Appropriate action? What could that mean?
Well, the fractured relationship between the president-elect and the royal couple, or ex-royal couple, I should say, began in 2020 when the Sussexes urged American voters to stay clear of Trump, urging them to reject hate speech, misinformation and online negativity.
OK, well, to break down this story for us, we're joined by royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Richard, so what are the chances of Trump saying, you know what, Harry, time to get out of here?
I very strongly suspect that the new administration has other priorities, and also it wouldn't want the enormous amount of fuss. Can you just imagine it in hypothetical situations if it happened? I mean, we've seen Nigel Farage there get an answer from Donald Trump, which implied that this might be looked into, and it might.
The Americans say that if you have taken illegal drugs, you're not allowed immigration status. Prince Harry, in his book, said he'd taken illegal drugs, and there he is with American immigration status. I mean, how do the two things make sense? Either he lied in the book, or he lied to the US government.
I can't see that the future administration would want to be involved with problems with the British royal family, which obviously would occur if this happened.
Yeah, that's true. Richard Fitzwilliams, thank you very much, as ever.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Time to go through the papers this morning with the GP, Dr Rennie Hunterkamp, and former Minister for the Lib Dems, Norman Baker. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Let's have a look, should we, at The Guardian, Norman.
Yeah.
Looking at crimes against humanity in Gaza.
Well, this is the suggestion in the front page of The Guardian that Israel is effectively trying to remove the Palestinians from Gaza, having a safety strip, or whatever they call it, and forced removals into other areas, moving Palestinians around and around. And, of course, you've also got to bear in mind that we've now got the suggestion, which is doing the rounds, that we may have the West Bank annexed by Israel, and certainly Mike Huckabee, the new US ambassador in Israel, has said he's effectively said he thinks that's a good idea. So I'm afraid the Middle East is going to get worse rather than better. But the report in The Guardian is about a report from the Human Rights Watch, which says that what the Israelis are doing amounts to, the Israeli government's doing, is crime against humanity. That's the phrase they use.
Have you got a view, Renee, on that one?
Yeah, it's very simple, this, really. If Hamas would give back the 101 hostages, including babies and children, that they still hold, this would be over tomorrow. But they won't. If they'd never taken those hostages and never slaughtered people, this wouldn't have started. That's where we have to.
Well, of course they should give back the hostages, and of course they shouldn't have taken them in the first place. But it doesn't give the Israeli government carte blanche to behave in the way it's doing. 45,000 Palestinians are dead in the West, in Gaza, and 63,000 have died of starvation. 63,000 because the Israelis won't allow aid into the country.
War is brutal. Aid is being allowed into the country. Hamas take most of the aid and then sell it.
There's 40 trucks a day going in, and the US has asked for, I think, 300 or 400. There's a fraction going in.
Most of it gets stolen by Hamas and then sold on to the poor people in Palestine. War is sadly brutal, and of course all of those things are absolutely horrific, but so is what happened and what started it. We need to bring it to an end. Give the hostages back. End it tomorrow.
Well, I don't think that will end it, because I think what's going to happen is the Israelis will annex the West Bank. They want Judea and Samaria, as the Old Testament talked about. That's what they want.
Renee, let's have a look at this on the Telegraph, many of the papers actually today. The resignation of Justin Welby could just be the tip of the iceberg in the Church of England.
So this is really interesting, isn't it? I mean, he absolutely should have resigned, and he should have resigned long ago, to be honest with you, over many things. And I think there will be other people implicated in this within the Church who should also resign. I think what's interesting about the whole story is it's leading to this debate of whether or not bishops should be in the House of Lords. And I actually worry about this because we are a Christian country. You know, the King is the head of the Church of England. I think there is a place for bishops in the House of Lords. I never agree with the way they vote. So I say this as somebody who, for me, it would completely suit me to see them ousted from the House of Lords. But I think what needs to happen is a tidy up where we definitely get rid of the people within the clergy that knew about this story, that protected this man, and we have some retribution for the victims. 100%, but then we should not consider it as the lead-in to use it as a lever to oust them from the House of Lords.
This is not an isolated incident, I'm afraid. This is a repetition of what we've heard over many, many years, not just in the Church of England, but in the Catholic Church and everywhere else. And the objective appears to be always to protect the reputation of the Church rather than to root out people who shouldn't be there and behaving in ways they shouldn't be behaving. And that's very sad indeed. And you have to say these people who've undertaken some of these horrific acts against children, you know, in what way are they Christian?
No.
Well, they're not. They're not. They're not, basically. I'm struggling with this one, though, because, I mean, Justin Welby, I think, is a good man, and I'm struggling to get my head round the fact that he kept quiet for so long about this.
Well, this is a theme, isn't it, that runs through everything. Our judiciary, our church, our senior politicians, where children don't seem to be as important as the organisations that we're trying to protect. And we need to move back to a point where children are seen as the future and the most important thing in our society that we must all protect.
Yeah. But, I mean, the Telegraph reporting this morning there could be up to 30 others within the Church of England who knew about this and didn't do anything to...
Well, look, I mean, Justin Welby's done, finally, the honourable thing in resigning. Yeah. But, I mean, if everyone thinks that's the end of the story, it isn't. No. There's a lot more there.
No.
See, I don't think that a good man is a man that covered up the abuse of children.
Well, I don't think... Well, it's whether he covered up or just whether... I mean, as he said, he failed to report it in the right way. He thought it was going to be taken up in other ways or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to give him an excuse. But I don't know. I just find it so hard to get my head around.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that...
And when you look at the brutality, actually, of what was involved...
Yes, indeed.
Case, I mean, it's absolutely appalling.
And the numbers of young boys and men that were abused as well. Do you think we need a separate body to investigate claims of abuse in the Church of England?
I don't think they should investigate themselves. I don't think anyone should investigate themselves, and that applies to MPs or peers or anyone else for that matter. You need to have independent analysis and independent judgment on these things.
Do we not have a separate body called the police?
Well, they're too busy investigating thought.
Silly me.
To look at things like this.
That's a nice link, actually. We're going to go into that.
Yeah, we will later on. We've been talking about it a lot this morning. It's, but the idea. I mean, I feel sorry for because police officers, a lot of great police officers out there, and it's not that they're doing what they're told.
Of course,
that's the issue. But it's the leadership in the police. Yeah. And whether that's being driven by government or not, I don't know. Very hard to say. All right, Norman, Renee, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you later on.
And let us know what you make of any of those stories. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's have a look at the weather now with Aidan McGibbon.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well. We'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening. A lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue, and first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Lothian, the A70 is closed each way at Harburn after an accident. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 27 from Chainbar to Gildersham. There are long delays with queues from junction 25. At Brighouse, the M66 in Greater Manchester is partly blocked southbound by an accident just after junction 1 at Ramsbottom, causing queues. Mersey Ferry suspended because of fog. On the M6 in the West Midlands, it's down to just a hard shoulder northbound past an accident between junction 6 and 7 off Spaghetti Junction, Birmingham. It's taking an hour in queues from junction 5. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, 2 out of 3 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 18 and 17 from Rugby to the M45, with queues from junction 19 for the M6. And the M5 in Worcestershire is blocked southbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 7 and 8 from Worcester to the M50, causing queues.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Watching on demand. Good luck.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is it a free speech breach?
Essex police are facing backlash after being accused of an appalling attack on free speech.
Well, everyone from Elon Musk, Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage condemned the investigation into the journalist Alison Pearson.
While speaking to Nigel Farage last night, here's what Alison Pearson had to say.
Seemed to me a completely mad overreaction. Whatever it was that I posted a year ago on X, I'm not in the habit of writing anything horrible and inflammatory. If I wrote something that was unwise, I still don't think that's a proportionate response.
Biden welcomes Trump back to the White House in a very cordial meeting.
Politics is tough, and it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get.
Labour touts a 5% council tax rise. That's despite promising the amount that households pay would not increase. Earlier, we spoke to Shadow Secretary for Housing, Kevin Hollenrake.
So, having said there'd be no tax increases, everything was fully costed,
and fully funded. Now we realise there's £25 billion of taxes, which really is going to hit working people.
The government announces the biggest pension reforms in a generation, with pension schemes set to roll into a mega fund. Pensions Minister Emma Reynolds joins us later.
King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday today with gun salutes, marking the special occasion after what's been a challenging year for the royal family.
And the John Lewis Christmas ad has been released this morning. Here's a thrilling snippet.
Music's good, though. And in the sport, Premier League referee David Coote is having a very bad week. He's landed himself even more trouble. England play Greece tonight. Harry Kane's not happy about players not turning up. And Gary Lineker now won't be hosting Sports Personality of this year.
It's another fine day for many of us, but it's not going to be quite as sunny as recent days. Increasingly cloudy and in some places damp. Full forecast coming up soon with me.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
John Lewis, Christmas. It's meant to be the start of the Christmas season, isn't it, when the John Lewis ad is launched?
I was looking forward to it, and I feel a little bit disappointed.
Oh, you feel cheated?
I do a bit. I think you can't go wrong with animals. If you stick to animals and they're animated, it's a tearjerker, and it's going to do well. But this was just a bit too simple for me.
I don't know. I don't object to a bit of Jesus at Christmas. Call me old-fashioned.
Yeah, I want animals. Stephen wants Jesus. My mum tells us that we need to stop being Scrooges. She said it's a lovely advert.
I think your mum's right.
She just texted me.
I think she's right.
She said you're being really bar humbug about all of this.
Joan?
Yeah, she said it's a lovely advert.
Joan, come on, Joan.
Come on. You want a bit of Jesus as well. She'd be in your camp.
Stephen, you made your mind up before you'd even seen that.
It's true,
I know you
actually,
had. You
because
made your mind up. It wasn't going to be
that's true. That's true. How? Because it drives me mad. What happened to the good old Christmas adverts?
It's funny you should say that. Because my favourite Christmas adverts, there was a company called Ronco, and they used to make these wonderful things. Only used to stuff. They used to have the button ear, which was wonderful, which you didn't have to sew a button on. It would just like an advert.
I remember that.
And probably the greatest advert of them all was a Ronco advert from 1981. This is a proper Christmas advert. This will not disappoint you. Have a look at this.
Introducing the Ronco Super Saw, designed to replace conventional hand saws. Just watch how Super Saw cuts through aluminium, copper, brass, wood, even roofing slate. Super Saw combines a sculptured easy grip handle with a Sheffield blade, specially treated to reduce friction. The 10-position blade makes it perfect for workshop or garden. Yet Super Saw folds like a penknife for safe, easy storage. Super Saw by Ronco, the perfect Christmas gift, only $5.99 at most fine stores.
What you call a Christmas advert?
Yeah, I was slightly torn by that, Paul.
It was so sharp, they had to place it on because the thing is, the Ronco, it would sit on the Christmas tree, and if you put the knife, it would cut right the way through the tree. It was unbelievable, and it folds like a penknife, for crying out loud.
I was waiting for the Christmas music.
It was on there at the end.
Just about it's like a perfect Christmas gift. It doesn't do it for me.
It was. You missed it right at the end. See, look at it on the Christmas tree there, and you had a little bit of Christmas music, and only £5.99.
At fine
and
stores.
it folds like a penknife.
When was that from? 1981?
1981, yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if anybody's got any of those, or whether they actually stayed sharp for more than about 3 minutes.
Nothing cut through roof tiles.
Yeah,
I'll
cuts
tell
through
you
anything.
what, though, about that advert, I would buy that.
Would you? See?
It looked good.
There you go.
But it's not festive.
I wouldn't trust you with that.
No, I wouldn't trust me with
Ellie, it
that
was
either.
festive. It was on a Christmas tree at the end, sitting there with a little bit of Christmas music.
But do you know, that was the good old days when that's what you'd buy your dad. What do I get Dad for Christmas? Oh, I'll get him a saw.
Yes.
Or something.
Something practical.
Something practical. It's what you used to do, isn't it? Stuff like that. Now it's, I must buy
Socks
them.
or boxes.
I don't know.
Yes, buy a saw. Which folds like a penknife.
Kay and Steve Bexell have been in touch with their favourite Christmas advert. A bit different to yours.
Oh, was it?
Said. It's not a saw.
No.
Do you remember the Heathrow Bears advert of 2018?
No.
It's a girl bear and a boy bear.
I remember that.
On the plane.
Yeah.
And they're really cute. That's what I'm telling you. You can't go wrong with animals.
You just want cute, animal,
Cuddly,
tearjerker, all that sort of
Teddy
stuff.
bears is a good way forward.
Christmas tree, bit of Jesus.
Yeah, bit of Jesus thrown in. Maybe we should be in charge.
I don't want a bit of Jesus thrown in. It is Christmas.
maybe Jesus with a cuddly toy.
I know
And three wise men.
In the manger?
It's not
In
the
the manger.
generation game.
Yes.
It's, you know, I know we like to spend money. I know we like to have a nice time, but it is, you know, a Christian moment.
Yes. Maybe next year. Well, if John Lewis, if you're listening, next year we'd like some Jesus, please.
I do feel like I'm on my own.
I feel like you're on your
I
own
feel
a
like
bit
the
as
cuddly
well.
toys would be better.
I know what you're saying.
Look, June's
someone
with
whose
me.
name I can't pronounce says, Paul, you could carve your turkey with that saw.
You could
They
carve
should have
it.
mentioned that in the advert.
They should have done. You know, cut a tree down, take the floor tiles down, and then carve your turkey with it afterwards. Still say shut.
Oh, what? You're looking at
June agrees with me,
Oh.
saying animals and children make lovely Christmas adverts. Just my personal opinion. Mine too, June. I'm with you on that one.
All right, there you go. There you go. Still say Jesus.
Did you enjoy the ad?
A little
Enjoy
bit
the ad?
Jesus. What,
Enjoy the
Ronco?
Ronco ad, yeah.
Very good. I wish I could still buy one of those.
Me too.
Maybe JML do them nowadays.
You never know.
It's probably the same company.
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
know.
Probably, yeah.
All right, anyway, look, it's enough of us talking as though we've got free speech in this country. Because maybe we don't. Essex police have been accused of an appalling attack on free speech after launching an investigation into a Telegraph journalist.
Well, officers are looking into Alison Pearson, she's a Telegraph journalist, for allegedly stirring up racial hatred in a social media post last year.
Well, Boris Johnson, Elon Musk, senior Tories, all hitting out at the police force for, amidst all of this, refusing to give out any details on the matter, what she's supposed to have done.
Well, the British journalist was left in the dark about which post on X was being investigated, as well as who made the complaint against her.
Let's head to Westminster and our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Morning, Olivia. What are we to make of this? Because, I mean, it's one thing to be investigated for something, but another thing when nobody really knows exactly what it was.
Well, it's an absolutely bizarre story. Alison Pearson was sitting at home on Remembrance Sunday when the police turned up at her house and spoke to her about this alleged non-crime hate incident. It was about a tweet that she posted a year ago, which was subsequently taken down. But when she asked what the tweet actually said, the police said that they weren't able to reveal that information. She then asked who the accuser was, and the PC looked down at his notes and said, it's not an accuser, it's a victim, and I can't tell you who it is. Alison Pearson is obviously not happy about this at all. She's written a column in The Telegraph saying that her free speech has been, completely violated by this attack from Essex police. And all sorts of conservative politicians, small c conservative politicians, have weighed in. We've heard from the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. We've heard from Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss has weighed in too. And most recently, Elon Musk has come in to fight for Alison Pearson as well. He has been very worried about free speech on social media, and in fact he decided to buy what was formerly Twitter, now X, in order to try and restore free speech. So he is on Alison Pearson's side too. It'll be really interesting to see if anything comes of this, or if the government starts to have a look again at this idea of the public order offence, the idea of a non-crime hate incident, because there are plenty of campaigners, both in Parliament and outside, who don't think that non-crime hate incidents, as they're called, should be used as fodder for the police at all. The other question is, how is this going to reflect on Keir Starmer? Keir Starmer is already sometimes nicknamed two-tier Keir because it's perceived by some that the Labour government is more willing to prosecute right-wing protesters than left-wing protesters. If Alison Pearson faces further problems because of this unknown tweet, then I think that nickname will stick.
A clip from Alison Pearson last night.
I'm not ashamed that people come to my house with a really crazy overreaction to something that should just be let go. It's trying to shape the morality of the population, right? It's thought control.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Olivia? I mean, people will be listening to this story this morning and thinking, well, what kind of precedent does this set? What does this mean for free speech in this country?
Well, exactly, and you've got to wonder if there are others who've gone through something similar to Alison Pearson, but don't have the sort of profile that she has to get her name out there. It'll be really interesting if anything actually changes because of this, and I think it's quite possible that it does. If you think back to that Nigel Farage Coutts drama last year, it ended in the resignation of the CEO of NatWest and Coutts because Nigel Farage was debanked. He felt that he'd been silenced. Alison Pearson arguably has been going through something similar, and I think there might well be consequences.
OK, Olivia, thank you. Let's hear what Essex Police has said in response to all of this. They say the report relates to a social media post which was subsequently removed. An investigation is being carried out under Section 17 of the Public Order Act. As part of that investigation, officers attended an address on Sunday, November the 10th, to invite a woman to attend a voluntary interview on the matter. But again, even that begs the question, if you want someone to attend a voluntary interview, do you have to send 2 police officers round to invite them?
On a Sunday morning.
I mean, couldn't you ring her up?
Yes.
Just a thought. Just a thought. But look, I mean, maybe the police are right to investigate something if it was really vitriolic, but we don't know that it was vitriolic and they haven't told her what was in the tweet. So it's all just very odd.
Yeah, lots of questions still to be asked, but I think there will be people out there who are victims of crime, violent crime, theft, burglary, who would love to have 2 police officers turn up on their doorstep to investigate.
Yeah, normally if you're burgled nowadays, you just tend to get a crime number.
Yeah, to use for your insurance, that's it. Yeah, you wouldn't get a police officer on your doorstep, that's for sure.
So whoever's upset at this, what Alison Pearson supposedly said a year ago, why don't they just get a crime number? I don't know. Well, it's our poll of the day today. We're asking, is free speech under threat in Britain? We'll bring the results throughout the day. And the final results in Martin's show later.
And if you're listening on the radio, you can just go to gbnews.com/poll to take part. If you are watching on TV, you can use the QR code, which was just on our screen, which has just left. We're going to get it back for you now. There it is.
Yes.
You can use your phone and scan that QR code.
Now, we've been talking about the John Lewis advert because Christmas is coming upon us now. So how would you like to have Christmas on us this year?
Well, you can do just that with our latest Great British giveaway. Here are all of the details that you need. Oh, yes, good luck. That ended very abruptly, didn't it? Now, today is the day. A long-awaited John Lewis Christmas advert has just been released. But it's dividing the public already. It's dividing us already.
Well, it's not dividing us, or you don't like it either, do you?
No, we both don't like it, do
No,
we?
we're united in our dislike of it. Have a look.
What are you looking for? Something for you. You're not going to find it.
No, not here.
I don't want a doll.
I want a nose ring. Jewellery. Is it a politician? What's his comment now? This is happening.
Everything's going to be fine. He's healthy. He's amazing.
He's a boy.
Yes. No, come join us.
I can't.
This is mine. What's your problem? It doesn't even look good on you. Get out of my room. And you still haven't even found me a gift.
You actually came.
Not this face. Oh, Sal, get out! What are you doing up there? Hurry up!
What took you so long? You.
Wow. Thrilled by that, like we are. If you're listening on the radio, of course, there was probably just mainly music there that you heard. But imagine a woman running through time, bumping into her sister at different ages and finding a very small gift at the end of it all. Let's talk Director of Communications at the Advertising Association, Matt Bourne. Matt, are you inspired to go to John Lewis after that?
Good morning. Nice to speak to you. I think the John Lewis ad this year is definitely celebrating the idea of physical retail. We do a lot of shopping these days online, and really, I think one of the key things. This is the third of the trilogy of John Lewis ads that have been running since September, and each one is really looking to remind people of the joy of going in store, but also that kind of emotions involved in picking the perfect gift for someone that really matters in your life. And in this particular storyline, what they're talking about is two sisters, and a sister really wrestling with, what can I buy my sister? And the Narnia sort of trick in this ad, sort of stepping through and looking through all these different memories in order to find the perfect gift, I think is a neat storytelling device. And as a Richard Ashcroft fan, I have to say that I just loved the music to this one, even before I was kind of, drawn into the story. John Lewis ad...
Oh, sorry. Go on, darling.
No, please.
Does the storyline work for you, though? Because, I mean, we're looking at the inbox now and it's people saying, I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. I mean, some people thinking it looks like the sister's dead. Others saying, can you explain it to me, please? I mean, this whole idea of stepping through Narnia and going through time, I mean, it's all a bit complicated, isn't it? I mean, isn't it best when adverts are simple and they strike you more, perhaps, when they're more simple?
Yeah, possibly. This one definitely needs a little bit of repeat watching, I would suggest. It makes more sense the second time. And in the third time, I think you really sort of see different things about it. But different ads, I mean, we are in Christmas advertising season, right? And we're seeing lots and lots of different ads. And they do different things. If you look at the Tesco's ad, that's a story about a grandson and a grandfather, sort of bonding over Christmas, but the memories of, a recent loss of grandma. Whereas the Sainsbury's ad has got the BFG in it, and it's just full of incredible effects. You've got Nigella Lawson in the Greggs ad, or Liz Hurley in Debenhams. Dawn French in the M&S food ad. I think the thing about Christmas advertising is it always creates conversation, and depending on who you are when you're watching it, you see different things, and sometimes you love them and sometimes you might not love them, but they change each year and they kind of reflect who we are and where we're at. And I think this John Lewis ad in particular, for me, what we're seeing, as well as humour in this year's ads, we're seeing nostalgia. We're seeing this idea of kind of sort of thinking back to when times might have been a bit better. And the use of the music and the use of the memories, I think, is a sort of, a device that the John Lewis team have used.
Oh, Matt, I hate to sound rude, because it's not a field I know a lot about, but isn't this just a load of old guff, frankly? They're trying to sell stuff any which way they can.
You're absolutely right in the sense that, the purpose of advertising is market share. Okay, John Lewis would like you to go into John Lewis rather than Marks and Spencer's. Aldi would like you to go into Aldi rather than Tesco. And, you look at the Aldi campaign and the Kevin the Carrot advertising campaign over the last 6 years. For every pound they've spent on advertising, they've made £2.63 back in profit. That's adding up to a 620 million extra profit coming into Aldi, thanks to their advertising campaigns. Because really what you're talking about is a competition where I would really like you to come to my shop, not them. And my ads are part of that competition.
Matt, just before we let you go, what's the perfect Christmas advert for you? What are the perfect ingredients, do you think?
Well, the IPA, they say that it's fame, emotion, and telly. My favourite all-time Christmas ad is the Yellow Pages ad, which some people watching might remember, where the little boy is trying to kiss the taller girl underneath the mistletoe, and he can't quite reach, and he runs off. He grabs a copy of Yellow Pages, he puts it on the floor, jumps onto it so that he can reach her and kiss her under the mistletoe. It's 15 seconds long. It's a beautifully simple, romantic Christmas ad, and it's fantastic. And I think, you know, that when you get really clever stories in ads that work like that, you know, you remember them forever.
Yeah, well, it was a clever one, has to be said. Matt, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I mean, we're distinctly unimpressed here, we have to say. However, John Allison's been in touch and said, it's amazing. It's a mini work of art. So there you go. What Susan says, I can't see the joy in last-minute Christmas shopping.
No, that's not joyful. And Rowena says, what a daft advert. It's too long, too messy, and a waste of money by John Lewis. Also hated the music, and the storyline is confused.
Yeah, I don't like the music in it.
No.
I mean, I know it's a classic tune, but it's just not remotely Christmassy for me. It's a bit down, depressing.
Oh, well, there's always next year. And if you like it, get in touch, gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, 8:23, let's have a look at some of the other key stories this morning.
And the father of Sarah Sharif has taken full responsibility for the death of his 10-year-old daughter. Iran Sharif admitted to beating and killing Sarah, but denied murder. He told jurors at the Old Bailey on Wednesday, "She died because of me. I did not want to kill her."
Over 30 Church of England clergymen could be sacked over their failure to act on complaints made against prolific child abuser John Smythe. The Church of England's safeguarding team is looking into the officials mentioned in the report. It comes as the Archbishop of Canterbury resigned over failing to report the abuse scandal.
And King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday today. Gun salutes are set to take place in Green Park and the Tower of London to mark the occasion. Last night, King Charles made a glamorous entrance at the premiere of Gladiator 2, alongside A-listers Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal.
Do you think the King wanted to see Gladiator 2?
Yes, I think he probably quite likes that sort of thing.
Give over.
Do you think he likes history?
Well, it's not. Come on.
I feel like everyone was there. It was
Were they?
very star-studded. Yeah, it's on the front of most of the papers today.
I wonder if he does, because you know, if you like, you know, the big red carpet events and the big films like that, and they all walk in, all down the red carpet, and then they all leave again. They go straight out the back door.
Do they not watch the film?
No. No.
Oh, that's a complete waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah. So you like your people in the press people stay and watch it, and maybe your sort of your technicians and things are invited, go and watch it, and your sponsors stay and watch it. But all the stars walk down the red carpet and then walk straight out again.
And they leave. Oh, you'd think they'd want
So
to
the
see it
King
all.
might have done that. He might not have actually watched the film. Just turned up, smiled, and then left again.
Oh, no, I don't think. I think you would have sat through and enjoyed it. I'm going to watch it. It sounds good.
Yeah, you watch it for entirely different reasons to the King, I should think.
No.
If you know what
I also
mean.
like history.
You like shirtless history?
No.
Yeah, there
Just
you go.
history.
Right, let's have a look at the weather. Here's Aidan.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well. We'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening, a lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, Again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue. And first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
The Daily Mail now, Josh, and pub landlords have to worry about more than the optics when it comes to offensive banter,
Yeah,
it
this
seems.
is a really big story and important. Pub landlords could have to become banter cops to stop themselves being sued by staff offended by comments from customers under workers' rights reform. So, Labour, when they were part of their election process, they were like, we're going to reform workers' rights, and that all sounds good on paper, but there were issues in terms of how might it affect employees and fear from employees costing them more money. One of these things that they're sort of pushing through, though, is that in the Equality Act of 2010, part of the issue was that if you were offended at work or someone said something sexist or racist, something that affected you, the employer had to take some sort of, they had three chances to kind of take action.
Yeah.
Now, the employer should have taken action already. So employees can sue employers. Now, this has a big impact on us because we're comics and we perform in venues. And if some of the bar staff hear a joke that they don't like, then they can sue their employer, potentially, under this legislation.
So it's not punters?
Well, also, it could be like you're at a bar and some bloke is like, oh, I like that top, or whatever. That's not good behaviour. But the point is now that employee could sue their employer.
So, because, I mean, the sort of scenario I was imagining was that a barmaid was being maybe sexually harassed or
That's
something.
what they're focusing in this article, but other articles have gone down the free speech route. Okay. And also venues and universities having lectures. We saw it at, in Edinburgh Fringe Festival and Sadowitz. He had a show cancelled not because of any punters, but because two of the 18-year-olds were working. They were upset.
There was a bar in Brighton, wasn't there? There was a story we covered a few weeks ago. A bar in Brighton threw some people out. Because
They had turfs on the...
turfs.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss my big opinion. Mark meets and my take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, a report into prostate cancer will be presented to the House of Commons today.
It calls for a national screening programme, and particularly for high-risk patients.
Well, prostate cancer is the second most deadly cancer for men, with more than 12,000 men dying of the disease every year.
Let's talk to Director of Patient Projects at Prostate Cancer Research, David James. David, good to see you this morning. A national screening programme. It sounds like a very good idea. Is there a price implication to this? Would it be very expensive? Does it work out? I mean, women have had it for breast cancer for years, and cervical smears, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So this report that we are presenting today in the House of Commons actually shows that for high-risk groups, there is a positive economic benefit to screen these men right now with no changes to how we're currently diagnosing prostate cancer. And what is more, if we make a simple tweak, so if we add in an additional test into that pathway, then we can get to the point where we can have a national screening program for all men aged 50 to 69, which will also have a positive economic benefit for the country. So we're really excited to show that argument, which has been given for years, that, well, we just can't afford it, it no longer exists for prostate cancer anymore.
Oops. Who's in the high-risk groups, David?
So high-risk groups typically entail men who have a family history of prostate cancer. So that's if you have a brother, a father, grandfather, or uncle, and also Black men. So both of those groups have a higher risk of getting prostate cancer than the general population.
Is there an argument to say that national screening is a necessary move in that not enough people are getting checked even when they're eligible?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, we have what's called an informed choice program where men are eligible to get a PSA test, which is a simple blood test from the time they turn 50. But the problem is you need to know about it, and there's no real active attempt to get men to know about it. So if you know, then you might come forwards, but we're not telling people about it, and that's the problem. So those in the know often go forwards, but they don't tend to go forwards when actually it would really help them. Like Sir Chris Hoy, for example, if he'd been screened from age 45, which is what we're calling for high risk men, then he might not have been in this unfortunate situation he is today, where he has terminal prostate cancer.
I mean, this is I have to say, I turned 50 this year, David, and I had no idea it was an option. No one's the GP's not been in touch and said, would you like a PSA test? No idea.
No, and GPs aren't encouraged to do so under the current program. So it's just really left down to the luck of the draw. And we're saying that's not good enough. We need to be doing something proactively, like we do with breast and cervical cancer. We need to be writing to men, telling men, look, you're now at a certain age, you're in a high risk category, come forwards, have this simple test. There's nothing to be scared about, but let's monitor that and let's be proactive about your health.
Yeah, great. David, really good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope people, in the meantime, as we wait for this national screening programme, take the initiative. I am going to log on to my surgery
and get checked
and get it booked in.
No,
now,
you should, yeah.
Because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and young men as well, because I know lots of people consider it to be something that happens to older men over the age of 60, 70, but it's not necessarily. No. And you are seeing men younger and younger getting prostate cancer, so do get checked.
Right, we've got the sport heading away in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Lothian, the A70 is closed each way at Harburn after an accident. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, the inside lane's closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 27 from Chainbar to Gilderson, with queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. On the M66 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 1 and 2 towards Bury, causing delays. The Mersey ferry suspended because of fog. On the M6 in the West Midlands, 2 lanes are closed northbound after an accident between junctions 6 and 7 off Spaghetti Junction, Birmingham. It's been taking around an hour in queues from junction 5. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, 2 out of 3 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 18 and 17 from Rugby to the M45, with queues from junction 19, the M6 and A14. On the M5 in Worcestershire, there's a lane closed southbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 7 and 8 from Worcester to the M50, causing delays. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Go through the sports now with Paul. Morning.
Good morning.
What have you got for us?
Well, I'm going to take a punt and probably say that David Coote is not going to referee another game.
No,
professional football.
He's had it, hasn't he?
Yeah. Really looks like it. A couple of days ago, the video emerged of him talking about Jurgen Klopp in a derogatory way, and also Liverpool as well. And it looked like there wasn't going to be much coming back from that, especially if you're going to referee a Liverpool game. But now this video that's emerged, which is on the front page of The Sun, of allegedly snorting a white powder, shall we say. This is what it says anyway in The Sun. And also it was at the Euros where he was refereeing just a couple of months ago. So where we go from here, I don't know. The PGMOL, who are the main body of referees, they suspended him, but they've also said, you know, they're keeping an eye on him as well, because also with his well-being and what have you. But anyway, it's a messy business, and coming back from that, I think is going to be very, very difficult. I don't see it likely to happen.
No. Meanwhile, talking of things football... England-Greece tonight, which obviously is a match you're very excited about.
I know you are. See, I thought it was going to be the Malta-Liechtenstein game was going to be the one all over. But then again, that's just a friendly. Whereas the England-Greece game, it's all to play for in the Nations League. There's Harry Kane. Harry doesn't look too happy there. And he's walking along there, and for those listening on the radio, the St George's Park, before they flew out to Athens. And he is not happy as captain with the amount of withdrawals from the England side. Now, this has happened in the past where players would rather be playing for their club and will find England maybe a distraction that they wouldn't want to be involved in, especially managers of clubs, because they don't want their players to go out and get injured. But there's been 8 withdrawals, and that's a lot.
And it's big names, isn't it?
There are big names, yeah. I mean, we're talking from Declan Rice and Phil Foden, Saka and Palmer and Grealish, amongst others. I'm not saying none of them are injured, but it seems quite a lot for this time of the season for them not to be playing for England, and it seems that it has something to do with the fact that the new manager, Thomas Tuchel, is not in yet, and it's like the relief teacher at school. Yeah. You know, it's like, maybe we can get away with this.
Bunking class.
He's not the proper teacher, or she's not the proper teacher. We can get away with it, maybe bank off for the day, and it almost seems like that with them.
Do you blame them? Do you blame them? You just sort of think, well, it's not going to be great. He's not a great boss. Let's just wait for the real man to turn up.
But you're playing for your country. That should mean... I mean, maybe I'm going to sound old-fashioned, but when you're given a cap and you're playing for England, surely, whatever game it is, it should mean a lot. But the way football's going, there's me saying that the Nations League's not as important as other games. It's not as important as it should be. But if you're called up to play for your country, it should be an honour and you should make the most of it. Well, they may not call you back again.
No, they may not. Can we talk Mike Tyson and Jake Paul? Most of us probably haven't heard of Jake Paul, but he's actually getting big in the boxing world now, isn't he?
Well, he's big. He's one of these YouTubers, and hugely rich and successful, and so he's then gone from being this YouTube sensation to then start fighting, and it started like there was a few bouts, and now he's taking it very seriously. So now he's fighting Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's 58 years old. Jake Paul is 31. And like I said earlier, I don't know who I'm more worried for, whether it be the 31-year-old or someone that's fighting one of the scariest fighters that there's ever been, but he's 58 now.
I'd love it if Mike Tyson absolutely floored him. So. Would you?
Do you reckon he's still got it? 'Cause he's 58 now, isn't he?
Well, I told a story yesterday about a great uncle of mine who was 90, and he was about to be mugged walking along the street in Brighton. And because he was an old boxer, he knew where to hit this guy, and he floored this guy.
Good.
And he was 90. You can imagine everybody, this. But
good
what
on
I'm
him.
saying is Mike Tyson could be that guy if you know how to do it and you catch someone right. But is he moving the same? So the thing is do you think Mike Tyson, how do you think he would see himself? Do you think he would see himself as a decent man, as a nice guy, as not so nice?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what would you,
I think he probably thinks he's scary.
Do you think he thinks he's scary?
Yeah.
Do you think... Well, have a look. Look at Mike Tyson. Mike, would you think you're a nice guy? Let's have a look.
There's nothing nice about me. I'm not a nice person, no. I'm a decent person. I try to do the right thing, but a nice person, I am not.
A decent person, but not a nice person.
Hey, I wouldn't do that.
No, I didn't. That wasn't me. I was just a slip. No, honestly, Mike, I've got no problem. Now, a decent person, but not a nice person.
Yeah.
He was always, when he fought when he was young, he had a trainer by the name of Gus D'Amato, and who brought him up through the ranks. And then when Gus died, quite early in Tyson's career, that's when he started to go off the rails because he needed that figure to keep him on the straight and narrow. Yeah. And not a nice person. But anyway, it's going to be a very interesting fight. I hate the fact I'm so into it, but it's going to be on. It's going to be one of these Netflix things tomorrow night.
Floors him.
Could be a good game. Good game, good match.
Good game, good fight.
Good game, good game.
Good game.
Good fight.
Nice to see you. To see you nice.
Well done. Paul, thank you.
We're going through the papers next. Norman Baker and Dr. Renee Honderkamp.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Serving some of the most talked about food in Chelsea, executive head chef of Number 50 Cheney, Ian Smith, has created a range of menus with a hint of the homeland, using the finest British ingredients sourced by trusted suppliers. Ian Smith was head chef at Jason Atherton's Social Eating House and spent time in the kitchens of the Galvin brothers. Ian joins me now to tell more of the story. Tell me about Number 50 Cheney.
Yes, so we are a beautiful restaurant down in a corner of Chelsea on the embankment with an amazing team. And we really pride ourselves on, being an affordable luxury that people, really are wanting to return to week in, week out.
What's the view from your restaurant?
We can see the embankment, the Thames, and Albert Bridge, which is very nice.
Very
it's actually lit up. Very romantic.
And tell me a little bit about your philosophy. I was talking there about having a touch of the homeland, British food, seasonal food.
Yes. Yeah, I think for me, great cooking is, with simplicity on finest ingredients, cooked with simplicity, and ultimately, there to be enjoyed through... Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, it starts as a young person's business. You went into it very young, didn't you? 15?
Yes. Yeah, so I was 15. I sat in my parents' bedroom, called the Ritz, the Dorchester and Claridge's, and very luckily, a man on the end of the phone, 21 years ago, sent me on to a college course called the Specialised Chef Scholarship. 3 days later, I had a Ritz stamp letter through the post, and off me and my parents went, and luckily I got on the course.
And how old were you when you got your first responsibility, would you say?
I think the biggest responsibility in my career is today. Leading Number 50 Cheney.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers now. A GP, Dr Renee Honderkamp, and former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker. Morning, you two.
Oh, there we go.
And Norman, you're going to tell us about a trendy new creamery.
Yes, I am, and it's causing some disruption to people down in Castle Carey in Somerset, because this has been opened by billionaire South African entrepreneurs who've come along, and the locals are not happy. They are revolting because they say it's changed the nature of the community they're in, because it's now costing £8.20 for a bacon butty and a cup of tea. They've also taken over the nearby Hadspen House estate and transformed into a £785 a night celebrity haunt called the Newt. So I suppose the issue...
£720?
£785 for that...
for a room?
For a night, yes, a night.
Gosh.
Yes. So I suppose the issue is whether or not there's a legitimate objection to people coming in with lots of money and changing your community.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's one of those weird things. Will the community benefit in the long term just because there's more money heading in?
I mean,
it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I do get it. I see why they're unhappy. I mean, you need to look around the world. You go to resorts that are quite undiscovered, and then, you know, a particular type of person will discover them, and you can't afford to go there anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how they're feeling.
Do you think it's all down from Londoners coming down for the weekend for a weekend bolt holes at their expense?
Those Londoners are a pain in the
I know Londoners, yeah.
In the Telegraph, Renee, accidental deaths.
Now, I thought this was really interesting because we can't go anywhere now without encountering health and safety regulations to keep us safe. We go on the tube, we're told to hold on to the handrail, don't run on the escalators, mind the slippery floor. You know, it's obviously not working because over the last 20 years, accidental deaths have gone up dramatically. 60% up in Scotland, 42 in England, 67 in Wales, and that's since 2013. Now, this is accidental poisonings. A woman was recently killed by her ottoman bed collapsing on her.
Yeah, that was
a man
awful.
chopping off his toes with his lawnmower.
Yeah.
A quarter of them are poisoning, but still 7% road traffic accidents. So none of this is working. 740,000 people were hospitalised by the NHS for accidents last year, and 7 million visits to A&E. So it makes me think that we should just burn all of the regulations and get people back to learning how to mitigate their own risk and teach their kids to do the same.
Things like lawnmowers and what have you. I mean, they can be lethal.
Well, again, you know, it is about... I agree with Rennie about this. If you're brought up, as I was in my generation, to learn risks from day one and to be careful what you're doing, then you learn to think about what you're doing with your lawnmower or whatever.
Is that the problem, then, the whole health and safety idea? Because we're actually removing risk from too many things.
Yeah, so there was a really great show on TV where they put children in situations, took their parents away, and there were some kids in a garden, too young, very young, 4 or 5, and the parents were inside the house and there was a ladder and there were some barrels, and they put the ladder up the tree and the mum said, "She won't climb that, I know she won't." Straight away, she's up the ladder.
Yeah.
And then the ladder wobbled and she stopped the child and she got down a step and she was teaching herself. We've stopped kids doing this.
Totally agree.
That's
true.
Now, sadly, some children will die occasionally, but they do already anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point.
Norman, let's have a look at this will.
Yes, I want to talk about this will.
That's been written on a box of mince pies and frozen fish.
I love this story. I wanted to cover it. Yes, I mean, it's a question of whether or not a will, which is written on, as you say, a box of mince pies, I know you got a picture of it somewhere, and frozen fish, is valid, because this person has died and he's left £180,000 to Diabetes UK. And
he wrote it on a box of mince pies. It's ironic.
Well, maybe so.
Full of sugar.
But yeah, not just that. Also on frozen
Look
fish.
at this, it's brilliant.
And there's
Where
the
is it?
cardboard. That's the young.
No, there's
chip
another
shop.
bit.
There's another bit. There we are. There's the will. And you can see he's written it there. And the question is, was this valid? Well, the court's decided it is valid. It represents his views, and therefore, if that's what he wants to do, why shouldn't he have the right to do so? So you don't need to go to an expensive solicitor and have vellum paper.
Was it witness?
I think this is a very valid point, Stephen, because I don't think it was, and I think the court have upheld it. We're always told that it has to be done properly with a solicitor, with witnesses. I also think what's interesting about this is in the text which I read yesterday, he said that he was leaving it to Diabetes UK because he didn't want to leave it to any of his relatives that didn't care about him, that had not spoken to him for a long time. And I think we must always remember this. Relatives seem to think that they have a right to their parents or their uncle's stuff, when actually, be nice to people in your family.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
It's safe on paper. Use the recycling the chip shop wrapper.
Yeah, I mean, of all the things to write a will on, imagine going for a mince pie box.
But you can also write a cheque on a bit of wood and take it into the bank, as long as it covers the relevant information with your account number and everything else. That's perfectly valid. You don't have to have a piece of paper.
You have a bank that accepts cheques anymore.
I mean, you could write a prescription on the back of that.
I can.
Number on it.
Can you?
Yeah.
And then anything, as long as I put my number.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's fun.
What do you want?
I'll give you a list in a minute. I'll give you a list in a minute. I'll tell you what, though, if you're thinking to do that, getting it done properly, writing a will properly, is better, because then it isn't going to go to court like this one is.
Yeah.
Get it done properly. You should do it properly if you can. But it doesn't have to cost a fortune.
No?
You can buy a pack, I think.
You can
which
buy
do
a
it
pack,
yourself,
yeah. Get it witnessed and all the rest of it, then at least you know you're sort of right. Cosmetic surgery is a wild west.
It is a wild
Renee.
west. So, as you know, in a previous life, I had a clinic for 12 years, and I joke not with you, I must have gone in that time on 250 different training courses. I constantly did it to keep myself up to date. I was a doctor, obviously, I cared about doing it right. However, out there are people doing this in their kitchens. You do not need to be regulated or trained.
Kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
They have people around their house and do parties in their kitchen, in their living rooms. You don't have to be trained to do fillers. You don't have to have a prescription to order fillers. So fillers, which are the most dangerous thing you do in cosmetic surgery compared to Botox, which is fairly safe, is the one that is not regulated. The Keogh report in 2012-13 highlighted this, and nothing has happened. And people see it as an opportunity to make money, regardless of what they do to people in
What
doing
if you do something wrong and you can't? Can you sue anybody there?
Well, if you haven't got insurance, I mean, obviously I had insurance. If these people don't have insurance, which they probably haven't, then no, you have no recourse apart from through civil court.
Is it an assault, though, if you undertake such cosmetic surgery and it doesn't work?
People will consent to it. They'll sign a consent form.
Right.
Gosh. It's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got people dying, haven't you? And there was the mum of, I think it was mum of 4, who died after having a Brazilian bum lift. I mean,
at the side of someone's house in a little set-up aesthetic.
Something needs to be done. Thank
right,
you
thanks
too.
very much indeed. Let's get a check on the weather for you this morning.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well. We'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening, a lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue. And first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the South East, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Lothian, the A70 is closed each way at Harburn after an accident. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, the inside lane's closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 27 from Chainbar to Gildersham. No queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top, and on the M606 towards the M62. The Mersey Ferry suspended because of fog. On the M6 in Cheshire, the outside lane's closed northbound with an accident at junction 19 at Knutsford causing queues. On the M6 in the West Midlands, two lanes are closed northbound after an accident between junction 6 and 7 off Spaghetti Junction, Birmingham. It's taking around 50 minutes in queues from junction 4A for the M42. On the M5 in Worcestershire, there's a lane closed southbound where a vehicle caught fire between junction 7 and 8 from Worcester to the M50, causing delays. And in Essex, the A113 Ongar Road at Abridge is blocked by an accident near to Stapleford Aerodrome, causing delays. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's only end.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is it a free speech breach?
Essex police are facing backlash after being accused of an appalling attack on free speech.
Elon Musk, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, all condemning the investigation into the journalist Alison Pearson.
Speaking to Nigel Farage last night, here's what she had to say.
Seemed to me a completely mad overreaction. Whatever it was that I posted a year ago on X, I'm not in the habit of writing anything horrible and inflammatory. If I wrote something that was unwise, I still don't think that's a proportionate response.
Biden welcomes Trump back to the White House. A very cordial meeting.
This is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get.
Labour touts a 5% council tax rise. That's despite promising the amount households pay would not increase. Earlier we spoke to Shadow Secretary for Housing Kevin Hollenrig, who said this.
So, having said there'd be no tax increases, everything was fully costed and fully funded. Now we realise there's £25 billion of taxes, which really is going to hit working people.
The government announces the biggest pension reforms in a generation, with pension schemes set to roll into one mega fund. We'll talk to the Pensions Minister, Emma Reynolds, very shortly.
King Charles celebrates his 76th birthday today. Gun salutes will mark the special occasion after what's been a challenging year for the royal family.
And brace yourself, the John Lewis advert has been released this Christmas. Here's a look.
It's another fine day for many of us, but it's not going to be quite as sunny as recent days, increasingly cloudy and in some places damp. Full forecast coming up soon with me.
Just got 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
If you're joining us on the radio this morning, that delightful John Lewis ad that you just heard, I mean, you'll have heard the voice of the balls, Alan Dedicoat, there, who did the announcement, I think. I recognise... I'm sure that was...
I didn't hear that. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
John Lewis will be closing in 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
I'm sure that's Alan.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was Alan. But it was just a woman walking into a shop. A busy shop.
And then going through her entire childhood with her sister.
So you neither of you like it. I actually do.
You like it, don't you?
I do.
I don't believe you, Paul.
I do, honestly, Stephen. I do like it. I think they're not going, oh, we've got to go politically correct, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. It's just about relationships between family members, and they're going back in the past. I actually liked it. I did. I thought it was nice.
I don't believe you. I mean, someone's messaged in this one, I can't find it at the minute. It just said, what a disappointment. All that fuss, and then all she got was a small box.
Yes, but you don't know what was in the box.
No, we don't know what was in the box.
Yeah.
I just came up with an alternative ending in my head, which I think is a lot better.
Right.
So, when she goes
what,
back...
a puppy comes running in, and then deer... And
no, that would be the best answer, that's correct. But no, I think she should have gone through her childhood. She's seen an item in her sister's bedroom, something nostalgic.
Right.
And then she finds the same item in John Lewis on the shelf, picks it up, gives it to her sister. Sister bursts into tears and they hug.
You know what it should have been? That Ronco saw.
Ronco saw.
That I showed earlier.
Yes.
That's what the sister wanted all these years, going back to 1981.
Yes.
And then she finds the Ronco saw that folds like a penknife, and she gets that.
Cut walnuts. Walnuts are always an issue at Christmas.
They are.
What about the good old days? I mean, you mentioned Ronco, that actually, to be fair, was not very Christmassy.
Yeah, but you say that there was a tree.
What about something a little bit better?
OK. Have you got anything in mind?
Yeah, Yellow Pages.
Oh, yeah.
Did you like that one?
I did. I did like that one. Yeah, it was short, it was sweet.
Simple.
That was from 1992?
Really? That long ago?
Yeah. You were just a boy.
I was just a boy.
Let's have a look at that one. So, again, if you're just listening to that, it's the little boy who uses the Yellow Pages so he can reach the taller girl to give her a peck on the
And then she opens the Yellow Pages and looks for a lawyer because he kissed her without permission, so that's what it is.
She was busy waiting for him to kiss her.
It's very nice. Yeah, it's simple.
Well, I don't understand with that. What were Yellow Pages trying to flog? Because you got it free anyway.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Whether you wanted one or not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, as an essential item, need it in the house at all times.
Yeah, but you didn't... they were just left on your doorstep, weren't they?
That's it. And also, that's probably one of the last years of the Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and you have these great big directories and...
Well, you wouldn't be able to show that now, would you?
No.
Well, you would.
No, you wouldn't.
Do you think, seriously, do you think that would be...
Genuinely, you wouldn't be able to show that now.
OK.
Why not?
Well, it wouldn't be consensual, would it?
No, yes, it was. She was waiting for a kiss. She was waiting for him.
She didn't have pursed lips.
She didn't know who from. Maybe not the little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have eyes shut.
That wouldn't be banned.
I'm
now.
telling you, you wouldn't be able to.
So he stands on the Yellow Pages, then asks permission. By the way, it's me. Is that OK?
By the way,
and then she says yes, and then it's OK, and then everything.
I'm telling you.
And it's Christmas, and everything's lovely.
I don't think that would get through the board now.
Do you really don't think so?
No, I don't.
Wow.
That's the state of the world we live in. I give up, frankly.
Yep.
There you go. Well,
Let us know what you think. Yeah.
Talking about things of that nature, Essex police have been accused of an appalling attack on free speech after launching an investigation into a Telegraph journalist.
Well, officers are looking into Alison Pearson for allegedly stirring up racial hatred in a social media post last year.
Boris Johnson, Elon Musk, senior Tories are all heading out at the police force because they haven't given any real details on the matter.
Well, the British journalist was also left in the dark about which post on X was being investigated, as well as who made the complaint against her.
Let's head to Westminster and our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. It seems very murky, Olivia.
Well, it's a really bizarre story. Alison Pearson, Telegraph journalist, was minding her own business on Remembrance Sunday when she got a visit from Essex Police, who said that they wanted to invite her into the station to talk about a post that she had tweeted about a year ago. She asked what the post was, and they said that they weren't at liberty to say. She asked who had accused her of this, and they said that it wasn't an accuser, it was a victim. Now, the post, whatever it was, has since been deleted. At the time, this time a year ago, Alison Pearson was tweeting about the events of October the 7th, some of the Palestinian rallies in London, etc. So she assumes that that is probably what it was about, but she just doesn't know. Now, since then, all sorts of figures, both in politics and outside, have weighed in on this. We've heard from the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp, Liz Truss, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, and we've also heard from Elon Musk, who has weighed in on behalf of Alison Pearson. Elon Musk has been very concerned about diminishing free speech for a long time now, and actually bought the social media platform Twitter, which he turned into X, in order to try to preserve free speech. Alison Pearson is being investigated under what's known as a non-crime hate incident. That's something which doesn't reach the threshold for being a crime, but a comment which is perceived to be discriminatory in some way. Since 2014, there has been an explosion in the number of non-crime hate incidents being recorded, and obviously since 2014 as well, we have seen a bit of a collapse in actual crimes being people who've committed actual crimes being convicted. So this is a very, very highly sensitive political issue, and it'll be fascinating to see if anything comes of it. Could it be that there is finally enough pressure to get this idea of the non-crime hate incident removed altogether?
OK, Olivia Utley there for us in Westminster. Thank you very much indeed. Well, a spokesperson for Essex Police has said that the report relates to a social media post which was subsequently removed. An investigation is now being carried out under Section 17 of the Public Order Act. As part of that investigation, officers attended an address on Sunday, November the 10th, to invite a woman to attend a voluntary interview on that matter.
And just a quick look at our poll of the day, where we're asking, is free speech under threat in Britain? So far, 99% of you say, yeah, you think it is. And just 1% disagree. If you would like to have your say, scan the QR code on your screen. If you're listening on the radio, go to gbnews.com/poll. On the back of that, let's talk to Pensions Minister Emma Reynolds, who joins us now. And I know there's lots to talk to you about, and particularly about the Pensions Minister, which we will do in a moment. But can I ask you about this sort of free speech issue? Should we really be have the police investigating these sort of issues? That's something a journalist has said 12 months ago on Twitter.
Well, look, I'm not going to comment on individual policing decisions. That's not for me to do, and I haven't seen the details of this case or the social media posts.
No, but you would agree, would you, that if someone is going to be looked at by the police because of what they say online, then perhaps Dawn Butler needs to be getting a visit from the police by calling Kemi Badenoch a white supremacist with a black face. I mean, because that's incendiary, isn't it?
I'm not going to be commenting on the story that you've running this morning because I haven't seen the details of the case and I don't know the circumstances. So it would be wrong for me to do that. Obviously, we have a proud tradition in the UK of supporting free speech, but that is always balanced with ensuring that people do not promote language that incites racial hatred. So, you know, there's always a balance in these things. But as I say, I'm not going to comment on the individual case that you're talking about. I'm sure you'll understand that.
You're here to talk about pension mega funds, aren't you? We're being told that this could unlock £80 billion worth of investment for infrastructure projects and businesses of the future. There's been some cautionary advice, though, hasn't there, from wealth experts saying that there needs to be caution in this push. You're using other people's money to drive economic growth, and it needs to be very clear to members what is happening with their money. So where is this money going to go? Where's it going to be invested?
Well, look, if we look at what's happening in Australia and Canada, where they have the best pension funds in the world, we see that because they have these mega funds, these big pension funds who can invest at scale, they are investing more in big infrastructure projects and high growth companies than UK pension schemes because they have that scale. In fact, if you're an Australian professor or a Canadian teacher, you're more likely to be invested in UK infrastructure than UK pension savers. And that in turn, having that broader range of investments will allow a better return on pension savers' money in the longer term, and that's what we're looking at. But as the Pensions Minister, let me be absolutely clear that it is these two objectives that I'm holding in my mind all the time, which is boosting investment in our own economy, but at the same time boosting pension savers' retirement incomes. This is a win-win situation.
Is it not a bit of a gamble with a mega fund? Are you sort of putting all your eggs in one basket?
No, there'll be several mega funds, let's just be clear, but by consolidating the market, we want to basically emulate what we have in Canada and Australia, where people are getting better returns on their savings, their pension savings, and getting better retirement incomes, and that there's more investment in their economies. So this is a win-win situation, but as the Pensions Minister, I'm not going to be making the investment managers' decisions. That will be for pension schemes to do. But we do believe that bigger pension funds, mega funds, will be better placed to have the in-house expertise to make these investments across a much broader range of assets. That will be good for UK growth, but it will also be good for future pensioners.
Are there enough big UK projects to invest in? Because large funds especially are going to need substantial, reliable projects in order to generate returns.
I'm glad you've asked that, because there are two sides to this equation. There's the sort of demand side, which is making sure we get more pension investment into our own economy. But obviously, as you say, we've got to have the pipeline here, which is why we set up the National Wealth Fund, which will catalyse £70 billion of investment over the period. And also we have set out some very ambitious planning reforms, and we're setting up Skills England, and then we have the pensions reform too. So, you know, we are absolutely focused on the pipeline of projects. But frankly, if Canadian and Australian pension funds can find opportunities in the UK, it shouldn't be beyond our pension funds to do the same.
It's a significant change, though, and people will say, should we trust Labour? Should we trust the government with the money? I mean, on the back of things like...
As I say, I won't be investing the money for them.
No.
To be clear.
But as you know, trusting you with this sort of scheme, because, you know, Labour said they were going into the election with a fully costed manifesto. Keir Starmer said there was going to be no increase in council tax if Labour got into power for the first year. And now we've got this £25 billion hole and you know, council tax increase that looks like it's on the cards.
Well, in our manifesto, we were very clear that we wanted to reform our pension system. In our manifesto, we announced there would be a pensions review, and within 3 weeks of taking office, Chancellor Rachel Reeves appointed me to lead that pensions investment review, to look at driving scale and consolidation. That's bigger pension funds that can invest across a whole range of different assets, including high growth companies and big infrastructure projects, to benefit the UK economy, but also to benefit future pensioners so that they see better retirement incomes when they retire. So that's the right thing to do. That's what we set out in our manifesto.
But you can see why the public would struggle to trust you when, as Stephen's just saying, especially when it comes to council tax, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves have all spoken about council tax being frozen, and we're now hearing that it's actually going to stick to that 5% cap, average of £100 more for an average family. I mean, when people are struggling to heat their homes or put food on the table, that's a lot of money. It's another example of another broken promise from Labour.
Well, this was a cap that David Cameron and George Osborne introduced, and it's for councils, and it always has been, frankly, to decide what they do with council tax. It's not for central government to tell councils what to do. I believe in devolving power down to the local level. And what we did see over 14 years of Conservative government is local services under massive pressure and some services decimated because of the austerity of the Cameron and Osborne years and, frankly, the last 14 years. So local councils have, for many years now, had the ability to increase council tax up to 3% for core activities and up to 2% for social care. There's no change there. The government, the central government, our government, hasn't done anything to change that cap, and it was introduced many, many years ago by the, oh my gosh, it seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? The Cameron-Osborne government.
Is that not you just shifting responsibility onto councils, though?
No, that's me telling you whose responsibility it is to increase council tax. It's not my responsibility as the pensions minister, and it's not Whitehall's responsibility either. Those are decisions that are taken at a local level by councils, what to do with their council tax rates.
Minister, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Loads of you getting in touch on this, gbnews.com/yoursay. I can't read a lot of them out.
Well, no.
Sceptical. Let's just say that. Very sceptical about what's going on there. Interesting one. KJT says council tax is passing the buck. It is seen as it's a slightly difficult one, isn't it, as to who can. You know, council tax is within the hands of local councils, but there are government implications on it all. So it's, it's give with one hand, take with another, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Look, we've been talking about how difficult things are, especially this time of year when coming up to Christmas. We could help with the Great British Giveaway. Here are all of the details that you need for Christmas on us this year.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles.
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the second largest ocean in the world, and the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the two of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So, our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer Trust supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions, and we stood there at my porch and went, Rowan said, I reckon we could do that. And I was like, yeah, I reckon we could. And then we brought Harry on board, and that's kind of how it all came together.
If people are watching and they want to support you, do you have a
GoFundMe
we've got
page social media platforms at
right.
The Free Flying Fish. That's Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our GoFundMe links in all of the bios on there.
Fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, Cameron Walker's here because it's Happy Birthday, Your Majesty.
Happy
today.
birthday, King Charles, 76 today. We're going to have gun salutes in Green Park. We've got gun salutes cross country, actually, and Tower of London. But it's a working day for King Charles, actually.
I know.
He is launching some coronation food hubs. If you remember last year, he launched his coronation food project, trying to bridge the gap between food waste and food need with the cost of living crisis. So 2 hubs are opening, one in South London, which he's going to be touring this afternoon or today with Sadiq Khan, the London mayor. So
a working birthday.
Working birthday, and he's going to be virtually opening one in Merseyside as well. But it's been a busy week for him. He was at the Gladiator 2 premiere yesterday. So, yes, he seems to be not a lot of time for rest, I think, on his birthday.
Do you think do you think he enjoyed the film?
I think it's hard to tell. I'm assuming he saw the original Gladiator, the kind of 20 years ago. So, I mean, he never will give away exactly what he thinks of a film.
He likes history.
He does like history. He appeared to enjoy meeting the cast, such as Paul Mescal yesterday. He hosted a reception at Buckingham Palace in the afternoon with the Queen as well, celebrating the UK film and television industry. So I just think he is glad that the film industry is booming in the UK.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Nice to have you back on our shores, Cameron.
Thank you.
We've missed you. You've been away for a month and a half.
Good being back in the studio.
What a life he has. All right, that's it from us. See you tomorrow.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there, good morning. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. A fine day for most of us, some bright spells in the south and the east, but generally cloudier weather for many, and it's going to be increasingly dull and damp in the far northwest. Northwest Scotland, Western Isles, into parts of Northern Ireland as well. We'll see some low cloud gather, some spots of drizzle. Elsewhere, increasingly cloudy skies spread south, but actually after a chilly start in the south, it's going to be a bright enough afternoon, just with some variable fair weather cloud floating about. 12 or 13 degrees in the south, 12 or 13 equally in the northwest, but a very different feel with a lot of low cloud and drizzle. In fact, it's increasingly damp in the northwest of Scotland through the evening, a lot of low cloud covering the hills, some mistiness around the coasts as well. But a contrast for eastern Scotland with that low cloud breaking up over the hills, so some clear spells for Aberdeenshire into parts of Fife, for example. Northern Ireland, likewise, some low cloud and drizzle for the north and west, brighter or at least clear overnight for the south and the east. The south of England, the south and east of Wales, most likely to see clear spells overnight, and as a result, again, temperatures are going to fall away with some frost and fog patches forming by dawn. It's not going to be a chilly start, though, for the northwest, where those spells of rain and drizzle continue, and first thing Friday, 10, 11 Celsius in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, whilst we'll be looking at the low single figures in the far south of the UK. Some fog patches will continue through the morning in the south, but actually for many across South Wales, through parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, it's going to be a bright day once again with sunny spells. But in the far northwest, increasingly damp and wet weather coming through with gusty winds. That's a weather front that's starting to sink south, which will introduce colder weather for the weekend.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Lothian, the A70 is closed each way at Harburn after an accident. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, the inside lane's closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 26 and 27 from Chainbar to Gilderson. There are queues from junction 24 at Ainley Top. The Mersey Ferry suspended because of fog. On the M6 in Cheshire, the outside lane's closed northbound at junction 19 at Knutsford after an accident causing queues. The M56 in Cheshire is partly blocked westbound by an accident between junctions 12 and 14 from Runcorn to the Chester services with queues towards and past there. In Flintshire, the A55 North Wales Expressway is blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 31 and 32 from Caerwys to Holywell, causing delays. And on the M6 in the West Midlands, 2 lanes are closed northbound after an accident between junction 6 and 7 off Spaghetti Junction, with queues from junction 4A for the M42. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, our next guests have been working closely with celebrities and MPs to help clean up our planet.
Very important. Think Ocean was founded in 2021 with 2 main goals. One, educating the next generation to make sure that they know when they're growing up that naturally we have to take care of the planet, and cleaning